Monroe ZBA. Welcome to tonight's ZBA meeting of July 7th, or July 28th, 2020. Noreen, if you can start us with a roll call to see if we have a quorum.
Mike Murphy,
Present.
Austin Say,
Present.
Peter Lewis,
Present.
and Kevin Scully will be late. He is on an emergency. We have
And-
3 for a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Noreen. And with that, I'd like to begin the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So I see our attorney is also here. David, good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
So tonight we have 6 items on the agenda. One of the procedural items that we have on the agenda tonight, I'd like to go through that one first. It's the Verizon application over at the Meadow Glen condominium community for a new cell tower next to the water supply tank that's located up there on Village of Harriman property. The applicant has been before us for a number of months. We held the public hearing open again last month to carry it over to tonight. We are waiting on some new submittals from the applicant. So tonight what we're going to do is just announce that we're going to hold the meeting over again until our August 25th, 2020 meeting at 7:30 p.m. or sometime shortly thereafter, as we're waiting for the applicant to make additional submittals. So being the applicant is not present, we're not going to have any further discussion on this matter. So if you're out there in the public to be here for the Verizon application, there'll be no further discussion of this matter tonight. You're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting, but I just wanted to get that one item off the list to get us started.
Hey, Mike, Scott's on. Scott Olson is on, but I don't know if he's.
Well, I'd rather not hear from anybody tonight because
Right.
we're just holding it over to the next meeting. I don't want to get started in a discussion, and meanwhile we're just carrying it over to the next meeting.
And my understanding is that the applicant is fully aware of that and has no objection to that. I would ask Scott Olson. I do see him there. That's accurate. That was your expectation tonight as well, right, Mr. Olson?
Yeah, that's correct. No further discussion. Other than I think there was going to be an announcement. We're doing some field work out there later this week.
Yes, Mike announced the meeting for Thursday.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Thursday, 9 a.m. at the site, correct?
Yeah, that's when
Correct.
they plan on starting it. They're going to be there earlier, probably 8 a.m. to get things set up. It takes a little while.
Okay. And to be clear, the public hearing remains open. It will remain open through at least the next meeting, August 25th.
Okay. If there's nothing further on this matter, let's move along to the next topic. The next application is 285 Seven Springs Road. This is the opening of the public hearing. We held an earlier event where the public mailings were not complete as they needed to be, so we renoticed the meeting, sent out the additional public notices, and so we're here tonight to open the public meeting on the application for 285 Seven Springs Road. Would anybody care to make a motion to open that meeting?
The hearing.
Hearing, yes.
Yeah, Mike, I'll make a motion to open the meeting. This is Austin Side.
Thank you, Austin.
The hearing. Yeah,
Hearing, excuse me.
that's okay. Do we need a second?
Muted.
Yes, we do.
Peter's on mute.
Peter, you need to unmute.
I second that. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. So with that, notice given, I'd like to open the floor to the applicant to present his application.
Good evening. My name is Joel Mann, on behalf of the applicant. To summarize the project before, so the public can understand what's going on, we have an application. This originally this house was approved on with the zoning board of appeals approval in 2016, I believe. And for the existing house was actually there in the property. For whatever reasons, the project stopped construction for multiple reasons. Now the applicant wants to move on and finish up the construction on this building. In the meantime, the zoning had been changed. So we're asking now the ZBA to approve the same footprint, everything the same as it was approved in 2016 with no other changes. It's just the list of variances are different than due to the zoning code change in, I believe, in 2016. So I'm here to address any public concerns on that matter.
Okay, and I am going to try to share my screen here in a second to put a map up. Host disabled participant. David, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yes. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay. Screen. Okay. So, Mr. Mann, we have your site plan showing up on the screen. Zoom in a little so everybody can get a good look at it.
Okay, so this is basically the footprint of the house. And I'm just looking, what is the date of this map of that?
The date of this map.
Okay.
Originally August 25th, 2015, recent revision December 17th, 2015.
Okay.
I think there was a more updated.
Wasn't that's what I want to say. There is a more updated plan with
Yeah, I saw one that had all the, the distances on the front and the rear setbacks and the numbers.
the entrances too. There is at the last submission we submitted the stamped set of plans from 2016, the site plan and the architectural plans. Also, we had submitted an updated as-built plan. So it's
Ooh,
it should be
I've
in
got a lot of
No, this one.
miles here.
I think towards the bottom of this one, Mike, there's another map. Yeah. No, keep going down.
Going down. Okay.
Right there.
no, this is also an old one.
That's an old. Okay, but that shows the setback. The distances that.
Some distances. This is basically what it is.
Yeah.
But I think you should look at there's a later. This is like the first submission. I think there's a next submission.
Okay.
Probably
714. That's Orange County.
maybe
That's
this
631. Mike. Yeah.
should be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and all the way to the back again. Oop.
Go back a little bit. There's the floor plan and the site plans. Okay.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
That's erosion control. Reading and utility plan.
One more up, probably.
One more up.
One more. This existing condition.
That's existing.
Okay, this should be the map.
Okay. All right, and there's your data table up there?
This is still the old data table. There's another map probably to the bottom, which is basically this title, this type of map.
Is this the 6.2?
What?
Is this the 6.2 submission? There was,
Yeah, so basically this is the stamped site plan from the building department 2016. We also did an updated as-built, which should be in this package too, if you go probably further down. But
Okay.
this is everything on the site. So it has the septic, it has the well. I think we should open it.
It's right after the sheet that's marked A8. I think right after that is the site plan with the updated bulk table.
Because it's probably after the architectural drawing.
After the architecturals.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, go right past A8. It's the next one after that.
yep. So this was the 6.2 binder.
Yes.
Yeah, I see it. It's on 8.5 by 11.
Okay.
Oh, okay, here we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So the history of this lot was that it always had access to the county road in this U-shaped driveway. There was previously an existing structure on the site that was knocked down.
Yes, there was actually 3 structures on the site. One house, one then a bungalow, and then the third there was a shed. And with all, we basically demolished all the 3 structures, and we constructed that single family home. Originally, we asked for a single family with an accessory. It was the ZBA didn't want to give it to us, so we ended up with a single family home. And that's basically what we built. And you can see if you match the existing condition with the proposed site plan, you will see basically it conforms and no change has been done from the approved site plan.
Okay, and the variances that we're requesting here tonight,
If I can list that, so basically it is the lot area. It has to be 1 acre with the current zoning, and we have pre-existing 0.66. The lot coverage is allowed to be 15%. We have existing condition 20%. The rear yard is to be 60 feet. We had it as 26 feet, and that was actually existing condition at that time too. Front yard to be 50 feet. That we have actually, that's a little bit a gray area because to the property line, we have the 50 feet. Just there is a assumed county right away, we have only 37 feet. So I listed that just to be on the safe side.
okay,
Number 5 is the parking area not to be in the front setback. And that's also basically pre-existing condition and actually approved by the county DPW. And we shared a copy with you with a renewal application. That's basically the county is working on it. They told me they're delayed, they're backed up, but they will have it soon.
okay.
So just to clarify, so the original variance granted in 2015 was for 3 things. It was for the side yard, the rear yard, and the lot size. And my understanding is that they had asked for lot coverage. They were originally looking for an increase in lot coverage, but it wasn't granted. So they met the code at 20%, and they did not need a variance back then,
Correct.
lot coverage.
Yep.
And since then, the code changed. They no longer need the side yard variance because the side yard requirement decreased. And so they are complying now with the current side yard. Is that right, Joel?
Correct. Yes.
And then the rear yard is exactly the same variance, the 26 feet versus the 60 feet required that was granted before. They still need that.
Correct.
Lot size, they obviously can't change the size of the lot.
Lot size is much smaller variance. Originally, it was supposed to be 3 acre lot, and it's pre-existing 0.66. Now the requirement is 1 acre. So it's
Right. And now the lot coverage, they're not changing anything that they're covering on the lot compared to the previous, but the maximum permitted lot coverage went down from 20% to 15%.
Correct.
So they need a variance for that. And then the parking in the front yard, I don't know if that was a new variance or that wasn't something that was considered last time, or that was a change in the code, but they need that to leave the parking where it is. And then the front yard, would you just explain that? It's like you
So the front yard, you can see that the property line, you see that the property line is the blue line. We have 66 feet from one side and the other side 67.4. So in fact, the boundary line goes in the middle of the road. If you go to the site plan from AFR Engineering, they proposed an assumed right-of-way 25 feet from the center line of the road. Then I'm getting, basically I'm only 37 feet to the property line, but in fact, it's not a property line, it's just an assumed right-of-way line. So I don't know how the board want to determine that. Just like, since it's existing, I don't know its matter, just if it should be addressed or not.
So I see. So right under where it says the 67.4 feet, we see the red lettering that says edge of pavement. That's obviously like that's where the road pavement starts.
Right.
But the property line per the survey goes all the way to the blue line. So you actually have 66.1 and 67.4, depending upon which corner you measure it from, to the property line. Is that right?
Correct. And the way it goes, I think it's a highway law or something that where there is no right of way taking, if there was no taking before, then it's an assumed 25 feet from the center line of the road. So using that.
Oh, okay.
That's
Right.
You can see that reflect. Mike will probably know about it. So if you go back to AFR's plans, I believe they are showing that. Yes, they are showing it. Basically, they have basically at 1.42 feet, but on the other side, it's 37 feet. If you go to the first page, they have some dimensions. Other two pages up.
So in other words, you're saying that by operation of law, you may have only 37 feet to
Correct.
the actual property line because of that that sort of unique law.
You can see where next to the well, you see 42 feet, but probably the other side where I have the covered entry, it's probably only 37 feet.
Across the front here.
Yes.
Right,
Correct.
because you got that same dimension, that's 61.3 to the property line in the center line of the road. But if you go to the assumed right-of-way line, they're showing a dimension here of 42 feet.
Yes.
You're still back pretty far from the edge of the road. It's not as though the house is right up against the road.
Exactly. It's more than 50 feet actually away from the edge of pavement.
Right.
Okay.
Now, I never saw that I didn't see anything in the application for the parking in the front yard. That was never is that something we need to approve a variance for?
It is in the revised application submitted in June 2nd. There's
Yeah, it's in there. You'll see there's it's just typed in a different spot. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then because there wasn't enough room, he put it off to the right, parking in the front yard.
Okay, that was because I'm looking at the application from May 5th. There's another updated application.
No, that's the one I'm looking at too. Like if you look at the zoning law in the in the middle of that first page,
Mm-hmm.
the zoning law requires, and you have paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And if you look to the right of number 4, there's number 5, parking area not to be in the front yard setback. Do you see that?
No. I just see four subject matters.
Well, that's strange. I'm looking at one that has the 5.
I don't see it either, actually.
Strange.
Mike, can you pull up? It's in the same binder that you have here open. You need to, on the top, you need to move up. You will have the application. So
Yeah, I'm looking at the area application. I'm looking at the application from May 5th, and I don't see that here, but
Oh, there we go. Something's added 5 over there.
Yeah.
this isn't the last submission. So I don't know what.
It did make, it was that way on the public hearing notice as well. Noreen and I had looked at that, and it's properly noticed. So I think it's
Right.
probably before the board, even if there might have been a mix-up with copies.
that's
Right.
fine.
Joel, what's the desire to have the parking in the front yard? Is there a reason you want, because that circular driveway is a gravel driveway, right?
It's basically, we didn't want to change what's existing because anything we're doing will change the lot coverage for more than the 20%. And this was originally approved by when we applied to 2016, this was the current condition.
Right.
So the fastest way to get anything approved by the county is basically we're keeping the current condition, and that's the way the Orange County DPW approved it.
Right. But if you extended and are there 2 cutouts on the curb?
That's
Yeah.
There's no curb, but there's 2 openings, yes.
Oh, okay.
In and out. It's very
Right.
narrow, so you can only go in from one side and go out from the other side, basically.
Right. But if you extended, instead of it being a circular driveway, and you just had a driveway from one of the openings straight back towards the side of the house, that would actually reduce the lot coverage, wouldn't it?
I don't have the sketches here in front of me, but it was one of the second I'm changing to one entrance, then I need to make sure that I have a turnaround area where the car can back in and turn out to the front. So this makes it a little bit bigger or even the same. And the second thing was that any alteration will require multiple updates on the county DPW conditions. So.
Is the existing driveway included in the impervious coverage calculations?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I mean, if we were to see our way clear to granting the variances requested by virtue of the fact that the lot coverage variance is one of the requirements, then that would lock in the size of the driveway to what it is shown here now. Right, so they couldn't increase the size of this driveway without coming back for an additional variance in the future.
That's correct.
And then, as Joel said, that if you start modifying the driveway, then the county takes another look at it, and he did not want to go down that road at this time.
Yeah.
So this is the application that's before us. Okay. Does the board members have any other questions?
I mean, I think we've looked through this a couple of times, and I think Joel's submitted everything he's been able to submit. It's obviously an existing structure, and it's a structure that had originally had zoning board approval. It's just now that things have changed, they obviously need to come and get it reapproved. So,
Right.
the way I look at it, it looks like it's pretty clear. So, I mean, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. I agree with you, Pete, that, what's in front of us now is the same thing that was previously approved under a stricter zoning ordinance that was approved in 2017. So, I don't see where we have a lot of room here for denying this at this point. But before we get into that level of the discussion here, is there anybody out there in the public that would like to speak on this topic?
Mike, do you want to
Hi.
you want to unshare your screen so that I could see better all the people and that we can call on them systematically if we need to?
Sure. There we
You don't
go.
mind?
Yep.
Okay. Did somebody say hi and that they indicating they wanted to speak on this?
Yes, this is Jerome O'Connell. My first question is, have you or members of the ZBA come out for a site visit on this?
I drove past the house, yes.
I as well
Okay.
I as well have driven past the house several times.
Okay.
This is-
Just wondering on that.
For what reason?
Um,
Just to see if we'd seen what the house looked like?
yeah, just to see what's here. I mean, I fought this back in 2016, and my next question is, how often do you have somebody come before you asking for 5 variances?
Well, it
Can you
depends on the
remember?
situation that somebody is in. I mean, this lot was obviously a lot that was previously developed. And what he's looking to do is clear up some of the pre-existing variances. You know, like the
Okay.
driveway, the parking in the front yard, that was a pre-existing condition. He could not even ask for that variance because it was a pre-existing condition. But he's trying to put it all on the table and say, I need all of these 5 things.
My question is, can you remember anybody asking for 5 variances in recent memory?
I don't know that that's relevant to anything. What's the reason for wanting to know?
I mean, I got this 4 years ago, and somehow it got approved. I mean, basically, you know, we want to have good neighbors, and we'd like this eyesore to get completed. But you know, I'm just wondering. I mean, 5 variances seems to be a lot to me. And just as an aside, I was chair of the ZBA for a year about 10 years ago. So I do have some knowledge as to how things work. I can't remember anybody coming before me asking for 5 variances.
Well, it's not unheard of. I mean, I would have to check the records, but I know we've had people come before us and ask for an awful lot. I mean, that's why the ZBA exists, is to try to help people with these non-conforming lots. And in the town of Monroe, you know, just a few years back, we went through some major code changes, and where we're seeing more and more applications just because of the update of the zoning code. And sometimes what it is just people coming in, they're looking to do a small addition to the house, but because of the way the zoning changed, they now have several variances that they have to clear up in order to add more to what may have been a pre-existing house. This application has that 3-year history to it, where it was before the board once, it was granted the approvals. He moved forward into construction based on those approvals, and now we have an existing house out there that's been constructed pretty much in accordance with the original plan, but being they didn't execute complete work within, you know, a given period of time, he's back here asking for the variances again and asking for it in accordance with the current zoning requirements.
Okay, on the plan, it said this is going to be a 2-story house.
I believe it is a 2-story house.
Yeah, it is a 2-story house with a basement, with the underground basement.
It's pretty high for a 2-story house. And it looks to me like there might be as many as 10 bedrooms, and there are 2 separate entrances.
Those aren't really issues that we really need to discuss at this meeting. Those go before the building department, and the project is already approved and has a building permit. I don't think that that's pertinent to this meeting. Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. We don't have any purview over that unless the building was, you know, exceed the height requirements, which is not the case here.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
those are mainly enforcement issues. If I understand, I think what you're suggesting, I think those are enforcement issues, not something that the zoning board would have jurisdiction over on this application. But I understand your point.
All right. I think that's it for me. I think my neighbor Bruno might have a few questions.
How are we doing? My name is James Hart. I live at 289, which is right next door. I've looked at this eyesore since 2016, and I guess, like you say, this is not anything that you want to be concerned about. But adjacent to my property and his property is a wall. I've been here over 27 years. That wall stood there, rock wall, no problems. All of a sudden they start doing what they're doing, and my wall is coming down. They're doing digging in the neighbor's driveway and providing drainage to the watershed. And again, these might not be things that are your issues. They might be the building department, but I mean, my wall is coming down. I sent pictures today to the board, to you guys, and I put lead receipt and I got nothing. And I just sent 3 more pictures because they're over there working today, digging to the watershed and putting in more drainage pipes. You know, I don't know if the DEC's been notified or what. They just doing what they want. And my biggest concern is my wall is coming down, and I've been here 27 years. And before they started building over there, the wall was beautiful. And now it's coming down in 2 sections. And one of the sections is right where they made the turn into the driveway with the heavy machinery to go with the drainage ditch to the watershed. And, you know, again, this, you might tell me that this has nothing to do with the ZBA, but I'm just bringing my concerns. You sent me a letter and I'm giving you my concerns. And the house is quite large. I've been in it. It's fully finished in the basement and on the 2nd level and the 3rd level. And I counted over, I think almost 10 or 11 bedrooms. So like I said, if this is a single family house, 2-story, it's incredible.
Excuse me, Mr. Hart, what address are you mailing things to?
It was right in the letter, Monroe, planning at monroenewyork.org.
Because I haven't received any emails from you. I'm the secretary for the board. That's my email address. When did you send them?
Sent it today, and I CC'd myself, and I got a read receipt that I opened it, and I don't know, and I just sent about 7 o'clock, sent 3 more pictures to that address. So I don't know why it's not going through. I'm not getting that it's denied or not deliverable. So
What time did you send the first one, sir?
let me look on my phone. Give me a second. 2:07 p.m. And then I sent another one just a little while ago.
Okay, I will go back into my email and I will check. I'm not remote, so I can't access the town computer tonight, but I will check first
Okay.
thing in the morning for any emails from you. It might have gone into my spam, but I did not see them on my emails this afternoon.
Okay. Like
I will
you, the
get them to the
gentleman.
board.
Right, and if these are issues related to the construction that's happening on the site, it should probably be shared with the building inspector. This board
Okay.
doesn't have any authority there. If they're somehow not out of compliance with plans or the applicable codes.
May I speak, guys?
Who said that? Who
Your
said
name
that?
and address, please.
Bruno Pietri.
I think the chairman said yes, right? Did you say yes, Mike?
Yeah.
Hey,
Go ahead, Mr. Pietri.
hi, I am the neighbor of Jim Hart. My driveway runs the whole depth of the property from the road onto my property. I am 287. The wall that Jim Hart is talking about is the retaining wall to my whole driveway. So it's actually a long story, and it began 8 years ago. So the previous home was consistently flooding my driveway as the septic tank was next to my driveway. So I had water overflowing from a failed septic tank cascading onto my driveway, along with the property's drainage issues. In the wintertime, I got up to 4 inches of ice on my driveway, made it impossible to enter and exit my property. At the same time, destroying Jim's retaining wall, which he is responsible for upkeeping to make sure that my driveway doesn't disintegrate. So every year for 8 years, I have had my driveway repaved and rolled with 20-ton rollers for the most part. But the amount of water coming off of this property in question is just unbearable. And the property is the whole length of my driveway. So basically I have a waterfall for a driveway for the most part. So back 5 years ago when Yankel built this house, I explained to him the drainage problems on his property. And I said, let's build a trench drain parallel to my driveway and I'll allow you to cross my property into the watershed and let this go into the runoff, as the roadway does not have a culvert. So all the water from the roadway goes onto this property along with the water generated by the home and the septic tank and all of that. Well, an unfortunate thing happened. When I came home from work, there was basically the whole length of my driveway, a 4-foot ditch was dug, and a pipe was ran into the watershed that was connected to the perimeter drainage system of the home. No trench drain was installed. So this was done without my permission. It is what it is. Now that perimeter drain from this footing of this house is flowing like a river into the watershed. So here we are today, 2020, and I spoke to Joel Schreiber, who is the owner of the house, about a month and a half ago with all the neighbors. And we said, okay, we have, again, the drainage issue. And I asked simply, can we put a trench drain along my driveway because you're destroying my driveway and Jim Hart's wall? So Joel said yes. Well, I came home today after work, and what had transpired while I was away, basically they dug a trench across my property and ran a 4-inch pipe, 2 4-inch pipes into the watershed, one of them to be connected into the gutter drain system of the house. The other one into what I believe to be is an ineffective trench drain. I have photos. It was not what I talked about with the owner. It was supposed to be done in parallel to the driveway. It's about 12 feet to the driveway where one of the main runoffs is. It doesn't even cross that. Basically, it's a 4-inch perforated pipe, put 24 inches into the ground with no silt cover, item 4 on top of it. This is not going to solve anybody's problem, but my big upset was that somebody ran a pipe across my property to connect their gutters into without my permission. So that's where I stand today. This property has a massive drainage issue. I have made plenty of complaints to the inspector Maldonado 8 years ago. Every time he showed up, he wasn't able to find it. Water was flowing right in front of him. He wasn't able to find it. Sewer water was flowing right across my driveway. He wasn't able to find it. So I've been quiet till now, but this property on the drawings has no means other than a pump to daylight from the basement. That's all it says, pump to daylight. I'd like to know what this pump to daylight means, because it's a waterfall across my driveway, and how are we going to control this? And I'd like the board to come out here and finally take a look at this and address this. I've been here 8 years. I don't plan on leaving. And I only have one way into the property, and it's a waterfall. And nobody seems to be able to address this, including the town inspector. And today, Joel Schreiber, ran a pipe without my permission across my property. So that's the latest up to the minute, guys. I think you guys need to come out here and take a look at this problem. If it needs be, get the county involved, get a culvert on the road. I don't know how you're going to fix this, but that's, major, major problem. I can't get into my house in the wintertime. So that's what I have to say.
So you're on, we're looking at the house here. You can see my screen?
Hold on. Yep.
Okay. And your house is to the right on the screen, on the downhill side?
That's my house, James Hart.
That's James Hart. So my driveway is an 18-foot wide driveway that goes back 200 feet. So you
Mike,
gotta go to.
Mike, this is Austin side. The site slopes off to the right side of the page. There's a
Right there, Mike.
on the right side of Road E, and then the watershed is up to the right. You see the green little guy up there in between the trees. His house is to the left. It's got the gable roof with a couple of skylights in it.
So Mike, you drive straight in about 150 feet, the full depth of that driveway. I just had it rolled by a 20-ton roller and redone 4 months ago. It's already got potholes the size of basketballs. And that was 4 months ago. I've been redoing this driveway every year.
So what was it like before? What was it like before the house was there? Are you saying that this is caused by the impervious coverage of the roof, or just draining down to grade and spilling out onto the site without going into a dry well? Or are you saying that this is being caused by, some other issue? I mean, was it a pre-existing condition, or did it happen because of the construction of the house? Because none of this is really a zoning board issue.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, we're hearing you out because you're at this meeting and you're speaking up, and we asked for input from, you know, the public, but the topics that you're bringing up are not pertinent to what this board can act upon. But we can certainly pass this message along to the town building inspector.
I already tried that means, guys. Like I said, 8 years ago, the town building inspector did nothing for me. He seems to have selective enforcement. And I don't mean to say it that way, but it is what it is why I'm here today. It seems that I'm getting the short end of the stick. I've been looking at this house for 5 years. He's owned the house for 2 years. He hasn't cut the grass once. It's 6 feet tall. I mean,
Did you put in a complaint with the building department for based on the property maintenance code? I believe it can't go over 10 inches.
well, like I said, I've been here 8 years and I don't get traction with the building inspector. So I stopped. You know, my wife is a structural architectural engineer. Every time he talks to her, he looks down upon her and you know, it's just not a comfortable environment.
I can tell you that if you put in a complaint with the building inspector for the height of the grass, that they will come out and they'll look at it and they will issue a notice to the owner. And if the owner doesn't comply, they'll be fined.
Well, regardless, guys, how are you going to make my property safe and put this on the drawings where he has to basically control the water coming off his property? His septic tank is not even active yet. It's only going to make this worse. And now his septic tank is uphill from his house. The septic tank is going to drain into the perimeter system of the house, which is connected directly into the watershed. His house is all on bedrock. There is no dirt beneath that house. Everybody knows this. So there's no dirt to filter this septic water. It's going to cascade right into the perimeter French drain of the house, and that is tied directly into the watershed. So how are you guys going to tell me that our watershed here that we're all a part of is not going to become a big toilet bowl? I mean, is anybody concerned about this? We're literally going to cascade into a public watershed. And you guys, nobody wants to come by here and look at this and say, maybe we missed a step. How do we change this so it doesn't happen?
What do you, Mr. Pietri, I think member Austin had asked you what you thought the cause of the issue was. Could you elaborate on that so the board can see, is it something that's within their jurisdiction or not?
Well, the primary cause of the issue, there's no configuration on these plans for proper drainage of property. That's number one. Number two, once the house becomes active with all its occupants, that's only going to increase the problem and become a potential hazard because now we're going to be producing waste in the septic tank. So how are you mitigating this, not contaminating the watershed?
Well, what I'm showing on the screen here is the sanitary sewer design sheet out of the set. And this is showing 3 deep test holes that were performed on the site, and they're to depths of 7 feet, 8 feet, and 8 feet. You know, so I mean, there's a topsoil, sandy clay loam with small cobbles, sandy clay loam, large stones, clay loam, large cobbles, dark. So, you know, there's, you know, here you have a professional engineer's testament as to what he found on the property when he did the test holes in the proposed septic area.
Right, but Michael, did he make note that that was maximum depth of his test? He couldn't go any deeper, that he hit bedrock? Because then that changes the whole result.
It does not say that
Right,
anywhere in here, but
that.
generally when you're doing testing for septic systems, you really don't go any deeper than 8 feet. That's all you need to do. You just need to prove that you have 4 foot of usable soil.
I know, but okay, so I mean, maybe we should take a second look because obviously this has become a problem for my driveway, Jim's wall. And I'm not saying we changed the rules of engagement here for this, but if we did a test and we hit basically rock bottom, then none of us need to be an engineer to realize that that septic tank over the course of maybe 1 year is going to saturate that soil and basically cascade. It's only a 1/4 acre lot over my driveway into the perimeter drain of the house, which is directly piped into the watershed, which I did not allow. The builder himself did this. So, I mean, are we all going to just allow for the potential for a septic tank to go right into the watershed, which is actually really clean water for us? I mean, it doesn't smell or anything. What's it going to smell like after a year of this? And this cascades all the way down to Duck Pond. My neighbor downhill from us has an infinity pool out of this water. Well, what's this going to look like?
Well, I mean, he's got a septic system design on this plans that was prepared by a licensed professional engineer in recent years. We just looked at the 3 test holes that show that there's 8 foot of soil on the site where the test holes were taken in the septic area right here. Yes, the land does slope down. The high point on the lot seems to be right here in the left-hand or the right-hand corner. It starts at 734, pitches down to the house, which we got 722, 720, 721, 719 at the edge of the house. And, they're showing they're coming out of the house into a septic tank. From the septic tank, they're going to a pump chamber and pumping uphill to the distribution fields. So I don't know what I could tell you beyond that this is a set of plans that was designed by a licensed professional engineer.
Well, Mike, can I stop you there? At the septic side of the house, you say there's 19 feet, which is impossible. When they dug the basement is 10-foot ceilings. They hit bedrock and chiseled out a foot of bedrock. So there is no way from ground to bedrock or the bottom of this house is 19 feet. That's impossible.
No, I said it was elevation 719.
7 foot 19?
No. Elevation
719.
719. Right,
Well, do we have a reference point from that? I mean, this, and as well, the leach field that's in this drawing is not what was made here as well. I mean, I have a picture of it. It's definitely not what you're showing in the drawing. The leach field only comes up towards my property, doesn't go back down towards the street side. It was only half of what is actually in the drawing. So I don't know if they made provisions to put extra branches because they only went in one direction. But I mean, where's the as-bills for that? Does anybody have pictures so that somebody can reverse engineer this and make sure it's going to work?
I don't think honestly, I have to be honest, I sympathize, but we can't do that at this meeting. This meeting is not for this kind of an issue. This has to be dealt with by the building inspector. There were progress inspections required on the project. This is Ben's job. We can't do this at this meeting. Mike,
well, then why aren't we entitled to see these progress inspections? Because Ben seems to have selective enforcement on my property. I could never get anything done with him. But all of a sudden, he's inspected all of this. I'm here day in and day out. I see it being built. I'm telling you it's wrong, but Ben's telling you it's right. And I have pictures.
Well,
so I'm saying that you guys aren't providing proper oversight here. You know,
the other thing is not provide oversight to the town building department. We review zoning variances and land use variances, and that's what we look at. We are not an engineering review board for the town building department.
Well, Michael, how are you guys
going to
going
to file in town hall is public record? If you want to go and look at Ben's records, you just submit a FOIA request, and he's got to share the records with you. I don't know what else I can tell you about it.
Well, okay, so we're gonna allow these 5 variances, but I'm telling you that the property is not properly configured to shed its water. So now, there's going to be a driveway needed down the line. This circular driveway is not going to be adequate. I mean, you could just come here and you'll see that. So where's the new driveway and a new garage going to be for this home? Has anybody asked this question? I mean, this is going to be done,
before, if they do any expansions of the driveways or put any additional structures up on this site, they have to come back to the board for a variance. And at that time, it may not be looked at as, because as generously as we may consider it at this time, because, that's going beyond what was previously approved in 2017.
Well, we as the neighbors agreed, and we supported Yankel, the original builder, provided that this small act was done. We know that he has a water problem on his property. It's basically a pool. I allowed him to cross my property to run a trench drain. He instead ran a French perimeter drain, basically right under my nose. Okay. And now today, we have a gutter drain ran across my property. So it's evident that they know that there's a problem with the water and I have 2 pipes without my permission ran across my property. So these variances,
That sounds like a trespass issue.
Sounds like you got a legal right to do something here. I mean,
well, it sounds like you guys need to tell us as the constituents and, you know, the citizens over here that,
yeah,
hey, we got this covered. We know where the water's going from this property.
Okay.
Right now, nobody's told me where.
Okay, so what you need to do is you need to think about the boards and the town and the structure. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals. We don't have responsibility for approving engineering plans. We don't have responsibility to inspect properties as things are happening. Those aren't the things that we have to do. What we have to do is to look at this situation. They're coming to us asking for variances. Obviously, it's 5 of them. We need to consider that. And we need to understand if it's something that we think is reasonable, not reasonable, if it fits into the zoning laws. If we think it does, it's obviously been approved in the past. It's a house that's sitting there. We've been sitting with situations where we come into this halfway or 3/4 of the way through. People have done things. A house is there. I would assume you want the house to be finished. So that's kind of where our purview is in this situation. If you have issues with people coming onto your property and putting in pipes, and you have issues with how the inspection of the property's gone and they haven't done everything that they've said in here, then you seem like you would have some sort of, you know, legal recourse to question things. But that's not this board's responsibility.
Isn't it your responsibility to make sure that this design is adequate?
No.
No, not
It's
from
not.
that. So our responsibility is to the zoning code only. We do not handle building code issues at
But
this level.
doesn't the zoning code reflect engineering, so to say, reverse engineering, where it was
No.
kind of like, hey, we got an acre for a house of this size, and now you guys let it become 0.66 of an acre. So now, are you telling me that you're not qualified to allow this 0.66 of an acre to happen without an engineer's support then? Because on one hand, you're telling me that you don't know whether there's a problem or not, but on the other hand, you're telling me that you guys have the brass to basically make the decision to allow it. So which one is it? Are you guys qualified to do it or not?
This is what the situation is, sir. This applicant began this application 4 years ago. They got approval to build a structure. They went out there, they built a structure in accordance with these plans. Then they came back because the time had expired on that variance due to the fact that they didn't complete all the construction. They didn't get their CO on time. So they had to reapply. In the midst of reapplying, the town had previously changed the zoning code. So they're here under a different set of zoning code requirements. And that's all we're looking at. We are looking at bulk lot regulations in terms of, you know, building setback requirements and you know, lot coverage. We're not here to re-engineer the lot. That's not our function. That's not within our authority to do such a thing.
Right, it's not, Mr. Pietri, so just to shed some light on it, it's not that the board is not sympathetic to the issues that you're raising. You know, it sounds like you're raising what may be, you know, very legitimate issues. The issue before the board is a jurisdictional one. You know, as a lawyer, my job is to keep the board, you know, in its lane and then make sure everybody's staying in its lane, just like a court can't exercise jurisdiction unless the law provides the jurisdiction. They just can't act. And this board, you know, its jurisdiction here is on a request for an area variance is to apply the New York State town law area variance standards and the law that's applicable under these circumstances where the application had been granted and the applicant isn't looking to change anything that he was previously approved for. He's basically looking for an extension of the prior variances, but with the one complicating factor being that some of the zoning provisions change. And the zoning provisions are not, you know, septic engineering issues that are before the board. You may well have a totally legitimate issue with regard to the trespass and the way that the thing was designed or installed, or the way it's, you know, if they've artificially channeled water onto your property, you very well may have a private right of action against them for a private nuisance or a public nuisance or a trespass, because that, you know, that is the law. You can't build something and artificially channel water onto somebody else's property. You know, and I'm not here to give you legal advice, but that seems to me to be, you know, perhaps a legitimate concern that you have, but it's, and we get that, the board gets that, but they're looking at a separate set of standards that they have to apply here. So,
I will just close with one statement. I agree with you 100%, but the lot size and the property variances also constitute the information of, hey, what do we do with the drainage of the septic system? How is the irrigation of the lot handled? So traditionally, if the lots are smaller, we pay more attention to removal of water from that property. Here, we have that circumstance. We went from a small bungalow. There was no other two structures here. They were knocked down. It was green grass, but they were original to the drawing, so we got it. But now we have a small lot. We have a mansion on site. We have water drainage issues 8 years running. So your variance is you're allowing a bigger house on a smaller lot, but you're not addressing the water issues. So with that, I close. I would just like you guys to do anything that you can to help me and the neighbors and make sure that our water does not get contaminated with the septic tank. And I'm sorry for being a little bit abrupt, but it's been 8 years in the making. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, what you know, there's nothing stopping the board from asking Mr. Mann while he's here to address the issues that Mr. Pietri has raised. And if he's, you know, he's willing to agree to some changes, you could, you might be able to embed those into a decision, but it would be voluntary, and it would be in regard to what Mr. Mann might be willing to discuss with Mr. Pietri. If you wanted to entertain that, but you don't have to.
You want me to speak?
Yes, Joel, if you'd like to address some of those issues with regard to the drainage pipes crossing Mr. Pietro's property.
Sure. So basically, let's go back 4 years, and like Mr. Bruno said, that his problem is 8 years. This property, the configuration from this property is basically the second half of the property is taking most of the water from the road. The counter road water is basically flowing on the property, and then it's going over on his driveway, and it's undermining his driveway and the retaining wall from the neighbor, and it has nothing to do with this property. Previously, when the house was still, the old house was still existing, I don't know who the owner was before, I just came across this property when they applied for a variance to knock down the house. One of the problems was, if you go to the existing condition plan, that the septic system was just next between the house and Mr. Bruno's driveway. So what happened is that the septic system failed because it got all the water on it. And then the water flooded basically the septic, flooded his driveway. So when we designed the property in 2016, we took this in consideration. We changed the septic system on uphill, resulting basically we need to pump her up. And we did that to save this property. We had a lot of coordination with the neighbors at that time. I didn't specifically had too much coordination. It was the previous owner. Looking on the design of the property, we didn't add any much more impervious areas on the property, so that basically, so we didn't cover any more coverage. So based on the engineering and based even on the board consideration at that time, we didn't need to add anything to our property. We just, the big concern from the neighbors was the septic system. We moved the septic system to the other side. Later on, the neighbor came across to the owner and asked him, listen, we still have a problem. Our driveway is getting flooded. It has nothing, and they all agreed that nothing to do with this house, because it's not like this property is not like the water from this property is flooding the road. It's more like the water coming in from the road goes into the driveway from the 285 and then goes on his driveway. They had a very good talk, and they agreed that, and the owner of 285 agreed to do improvements, like to build something. I don't know exactly the details, and I think he did. And then I don't know, something Mr. Bruno is saying that he did something that he didn't supposed to do. In the last 4 weeks, there was a request from the owners to do something about the drainage, and voluntarily we had meetings. My understanding from today is that was some type of misunderstanding, that they had a meeting with Bruno, and at the meeting they decided one thing. Later on, the excavator came in to do something. He did something different, and I told from Mr. Bruno, I just spoke to him prior to the meeting. I spoke to the owners, and the owner actually spoke to Mr. Bruno. They're not running away here. They're not like, even it's not their problem, still voluntarily to the neighbors, they will help them and do the best to fix their problem. So back to the board, we're here. Actually, we're not doing any construction on this house. We're stopped. We want to finish it ASAP. We had pushed off from one public hearing to the other public hearing. And as putting to the record, we will do something. We will do the best that we can to work with the neighbors together and fix this problem, even though it's not completely not a problem from this property owner, and I will ask the board to consider the approval of tonight.
Okay, just as a point of matter here, I'm sharing an existing conditions survey map for the property. And as we're looking at this map, you can see the property slopes have not changed considerably. I was looking at what the grading was shown on the proposed plan. And I mean, it always, sloped in this direction. The high point is up here at 734. It slopes off across the lot down to 716, which crosses over the driveways that we're talking about. And in terms of the old septic system, that was right on the edge of the property line here. So now the new septic system has been relocated from the position shown here, which is, all the way over at the left-hand side of the page, and it's been moved basically to the opposite side of the lot. So it's much further away from everybody's, from the properties that are downhill of it. So, just looking at that seems like an improvement all in of itself. And the fact of the matter is that the new well is down at the location where the old septic system was. So it's downhill from their own septic system. I think it's important for them. Their wells are closer to the new septic system than anybody else's surrounding wells. So it's in their best interest to maintain that septic system in good condition and not overtax it.
And Mike, this is Austin Sy. Can I ask a quick question? I'm not a septic engineer. I'm just an architect. I know a little bit about septics. I don't know a ton about them, but I get the feeling that the leaching fields need to be set plumb to ground, right? So it's not as if these things are draining in a certain directional. It's not a directional drainage system. There's a certain percolation, and you'd assume that the drainage goes down. I mean, certainly there's groundwater movement underneath the surface, but I don't think the groundwater necessarily flow in the same way that surface water flows. I mean, I'm just trying to clarify, because it was noted that there's some cascading of
right. I hear what you're getting at, Austin. And yes, the idea of a sanitary sewer absorption field is that it does just that. The effluent that comes out of the septic tank is absorbed into the soil beneath the fields. It doesn't flow overland. If you have overland flow of the septic system, you have a failed system. That happens when systems fail, even if they're not maintained or if they're overtaxed in some way. That's how they express the failure. The sewage effluent would rise to the surface and run along the surface of the ground and mingle with the surface stormwaters. That's a condition that you don't want, but that's the purpose of having a designed subsurface sewage disposal system, which this applicant has the benefit of.
I would like to add one more thing. It's looking, I cannot show on the slides, but if you start the uphill of the property fronting the county route 44, you have a slight swale along the area until basically the existing driveway. That's where all the water comes into the property and then goes over on the neighbor's driveway. So actually the septic system by itself is protected and not getting that much of water above it. So the new existing septic system. That's
You
where,
can say whatever you want. I've stood out there and it's thunderstorms in the last month or two. The water comes down and runs across his property onto the driveway and down onto the wall and onto my property. And then I have drainage with covers that have all kinds of sticks and grass and leaves that I got to pick up. So don't tell me it's coming from County Route 44. I've stood out there in the thunderstorms and seen where the water's coming from. Talk all you want about you're right, the sloping down to it slopes all the way from the top corner, all the way down to the driveway and onto my property. I'm the one at the bottom
And
of the
it
hill.
seems to have been the existing.
My property is the lake where it all drains to.
All right.
Michael, is there anything you can do for us? I mean, I'd like the neighbor to go forward with all his intentions and get that house buttoned up and move in, and we can have a neighbor finally. But can you, with Joel Mann, agree to put something on paper with proper drainage? I mean, can we have an engineer look at this? Obviously, there is a problem. I mean, we're not blind over here. I don't know if it's yours or somebody else's board that I got to go to or we got to go to. But can you put something in writing for us? Stipulate, hey, we got to figure this out.
We cannot direct the applicant to do work on his property to change the drainage conditions. We don't have that authority. If you and the applicant, I mean, you've obviously been in discussions. He's offered to do some work. If there's something that needs to be somewhat adjusted from the work that was already conducted, that's between two private parties. If those two private parties want to discuss this further over the course of the month and come back to us with, a recommendation that both parties are in agreement with, we can take that into consideration in, the zoning resolution that we pass it, whether it be this month or next month. But it's up to Mr. Mann at this point, whether he wants to have further discussions with you to hear you out and jointly come up with a solution to this problem, or maybe Mr. Mann comes back to us and says, I've already done enough out there. I've met the burden of the work that I need to do, and I want this application to stand on its own merit. We can't make that decision for you right here and right now, and we cannot force Mr. Mann into some directive that you want to give him and say, I want you to improve my driveway drainage. I want you to put a berm across the edge of your property that directs the water away from my driveway. We can't direct him to do that type of thing.
But Michael,
if you can reach a gentleman's agreement that Mr. Mann is willing to work with you on, he appears to be willing to work with you because he's already attempted to do some work out there. If there's something that the two parties can agree on, and they want to bring that back to the board, Joel, I really leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to, take a month to talk to your neighbors about this and come back to us with a solution.
Michael, I gotta say, Mr. Mann was there 8 years ago with Yankel. The promises were made to me by him.
4 years.
So this is, when the house was built, 4 years ago, sorry. So promises were made, nothing was done, and other things were done instead. And I haven't taken legal action, and I don't intend to, because I don't want to make anybody's life hard. This is a simple, irrigation issue. So Mr. Mann has already made me promises. So now this is the new homeowner, and you're asking me to work it out like a gentleman. I have, and I couldn't come to this meeting tonight and stay quiet and not be honest with the actual problems that have occurred today as the latest. What we're telling you is that, hey, me, Jim Hart, we know there's a water issue, and we're telling you, like, okay, it's a problem now, but what happens when they add water to the property because they're using the septic tank? So we're telling you there's an issue right now, but you're telling me that there's not a problem with the septic tank. So I'm telling you, I already have a waterfall, it's destroying the wall, destroying my driveway. And you're telling me when the septic tank turns on, it's not going to be any different. I find that to be impossible.
If that system is designed correctly, there should be no discharge to the surface of the land from that septic system.
It won't be to the surface, but it will be to the underlayment, to the perimeter drain of the house, which is only 6 to 7 feet below grade. well, they dug deep over there, so it's probably about 8 or 9 feet. So the septic tank is sitting 4 feet below ground. It's going to go right to that perimeter drain, which is only 10 feet away from it, and cascade right into the perimeter drain that's piped across my property into the watershed. So, I mean, we're telling you we have a water problem and the house hasn't been occupied for 5 years. And now it's going
Sounds
to
like
be
it's a
occupied.
surface water problem, though, that it's not something that was created by his septic system. You're projecting that that's going to be, the septic system that's designed is going to fail.
No, I'm projecting.
I don't
I'm
have
not
a basis for
projecting.
that.
I'm saying that it won't make it better. And I want you to make me believe that it's going to be no different, Michael. Can you make me believe that nothing's going to change once we add more water to that property? We already have a problem.
You know, you're taking the water from the property with the well, and you're using it, you're putting it back into the ground. It's, you know, kind of a circular system. Like I said, their wells are closer to their septic system than everybody else's. So to keep the system operating, you know, properly is in their best interest.
Can you give us 30 days, Michael, to figure this out? I'd like something from Mr. Mann in writing, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. An engineer thought of this, and this is how we're going to rectify this. Can you give us 30 days? Because I feel that after this is over with, I'm not going to have any traction, and I'll be stuck with whatever it is, and I'll have to call the cops to rectify a drainage issue because Mr. Maldonado doesn't seem to be effective over here, and I really don't want to go down that path. I like a simpleton lifestyle. I don't want to become part of the town board. I mean, I just finished United Monroe in a lawsuit. I'm one of the founding signatures for the lawsuit. You know, I really like to stay out of the limelight here. I just don't want a wet driveway. I'm not asking for a lot, guys. And I think Jim Hart, you know, he had to elevate his patio in the back by 12 to 14 inches so he's not sitting in a swamp. But you guys are telling us everything's fine.
And we're not telling you everything's fine. We're telling you, to me, it doesn't look like it's changed dramatically. Yes, there's a bigger house on the property than there was previously. It doesn't look extensively overbuilt. I mean, I've seen a lot worse lots in the town of Monroe where the lot coverage is on the order of 50%.
Got it.
You know,
I mean, what?
if Mr. Mann is in agreement and he's willing to work with you over the course of the next month, and we're willing to, you know, this board doesn't really have a horse in this race as far as this goes, you know, the drainage situation. Mr. Mann has made an application to us based on the bulk lot regulations. We're looking at that. We're making determinations based on what he's asking for, what was granted in the past. This whole topic of storm drainage and potential sanitary sewer problems, which have not yet been realized, that's, you know, that's a private matter. If Mr. Mann wants to spend the next couple of weeks talking to you and coming up with some satisfactory agreement between you, we're willing to hear that next month. But also, we're not going to force him to do anything.
Uh-huh.
You know, my take on this is that we've, you know, this obviously is something that's been in the offing for many, many years. The public, obviously the public concerns are real. We understand that. Is a 30-day, you know, postponement to approve this, is that unreasonable after all this time to see if there's a possibility of an agreement amongst, you know, it's not going to affect us in terms of our approval process necessarily, but it's almost like it's a good neighbor, you know, policy to, you know, here's the public, here's their concerns, whether, you know, it is runoff from the road or from the property. It's just something that probably should be, you know, should be discussed. So I'm not opposed to thinking that we could, you know, we could take 30 days and have that conversation. I mean, that's my take. I don't know if it's something that, you know, Mike and Austin are thinking as well.
Mike, what if we approve the zoning variances based on a contingency that, you know, that essentially that Ben, you know, states that the as-built work conforms to the current code? I don't know what that means. Do they have to go out and get a survey to make sure it's graded correctly? You know, present the progress, you know, that the progress inspection passed for the septic, the perk tests passed. I mean, my thing is this work is already approved. So if it
Right. I mean, they
if it
got
was
the building.
inspected and it was approved, then that's the end of the story.
Right, but I've placed complaints to Maldonado going back 8 years, and the man can't seem to find anything when he comes here. I mean, he could be standing in a puddle and he don't see it, to tell you nicely. So you're telling me that we need to get Maldonado over here, and I'm telling you I already did that. And I have complaints filed. And the reason the house was sold by the previous owner, the first owner, before Yanko built the new one, was because I told her I'm going to hire a lawyer to rectify this because Mr. Maldonado doesn't see it. It's in a blind spot for him. So I'm going to get a lawyer. And then she didn't have money to rectify the water problem. And what did she do? She sold the house. Before the new house got built, that was nice. I told them, you guys got a water problem. Please address it. You're in a swimming pool. You're right on bedrock. Here we are 8 years here. No, nobody's listening to me, and we got a waterfall. So if we can get 30 days, I don't know.
Mr. Bruno, you know, I live on a downhill side of the road also, and I get runoff from all of my neighbors. And I mean, that's just the shape of the surface of the earth, and water runs downhill. I mean, you know, to say that Mr. Mann is doing something here, you know, that's creating or making your situation worse. Meanwhile, you're saying that this situation existed previously. You know, if he's willing to work with you and come up with a joint solution over the course of the next month, that's fine by us. But as I said earlier, we're also not going to force him to be held to some kind of a requirement, because that's not generally part of the zoning application process. But
All right, appreciate
we hear
that.
the neighbors have concerns, and if he's willing to work with you over the course of the next month, come up with a solution that's amicable, we're willing to give you that time to do that.
That's all we ask. Mr. Mann's been wonderful. I have no problem with it. Neither Joe Schreiber, the owner of the house, the new owner, except promises were made and nothing. They say one thing, and then all of a sudden the guy with the excavator digs a hole in completely somewhere else and runs a pipe. So I don't know if the
maybe what you have to do is sketch up the agreement. You know, what does it look like? What kind of pipe is going to be placed where? How's the grading going to work? You know,
I tried, Mike. I said I want engineered drawings, and all of a sudden, oh, this guy's busy. This guy, 19 stories and a pipe in one place.
Mr. Bruno, I just want to make something clear. I wasn't involved in the direct discussions between you and the owner, as you know, and you will probably agree to that. And I wasn't involved.
That's correct.
So, like I told you today, I'm willing to get involved, and I will be involved now. And I will try to set up a meeting between you and the excavator and the owner. We'll figure out something. We'll work with you, but I still don't want to hold up this variance for that. But and you cannot tell me that when I didn't promise you anything previously what I didn't hold to. The only promise what I did for you 4 years ago was to move the septic up. That was the only promise I did for you. I don't know what you had to do together with Yankel, but that's the promise what I did, and I hold to that promise. And now I'm telling you, we'll have a meeting. We'll see. I think it's a benefit for both. Both can benefit to work together, and we will have a meeting. We'll probably work something out. But now to commit to that and hold up the public hearing and hold up the approval, I don't feel that's something that we should do now.
I agree with you, Joel. The plan B is if you guys don't rectify the water problem, we have to take legal actions as your neighbors. And then it turns into a big mess. So
that's what it is. But the guy doesn't want to give 30 days.
Hello?
Yes, I just wanted to interject. You said they made no changes. So when you went down Mr. Bruno's driveway, when they bought the property, there was a wall, a wood wall, and about 4 feet of dirt. And Mr. Bruno gave him approval to remove the wall and grade the property. So that's why the water has now come down onto the driveway and onto my wall. Originally, when Dick Diener owned that property, there was a 4-foot wall made out of wood all the way down the driveway, and then they removed the soil and the wall and graded it down to the driveway. Now the water just runs. I don't know how it ran before. Maybe it was into the culvert, but now it runs across the driveway.
So that means that he gave some type of permission for the owner to remove the wall. So you see, there was some discussions. It's not like someone did something without any permissions. There probably was some misunderstandings. One of the problems was that the original owner, Yankel, left the construction in the middle. So we didn't nothing was finished. Now there's a new owner in. He got right away when he want to start. He got stopped at the building department because there was the approval expired. So I believe once they will get it back onto the property, they try to do something now fast, but now you see it worked out. They're getting back on the property. We'll work with you together. And as he said, if it's a trespassing issue and you're not getting along, you have legal action. So it's like, I don't know. I will not take
So-
any property.
Guys, the wall was moved and I allowed it because the septic tank destroyed the wall, filled it up with water from the septic tank. It stunk like a toilet. There was trees that died. So the wall had to go. It was destroyed and I didn't charge Yanko for it and that was it. No big deal. But I guess it's up to you, Michael, how you want to handle this. I think you've heard us and we thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Mr. Murphy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm thinking through this a
All
little
right.
bit.
I think the idea of putting things on hold for 30 days is a good way to handle this, and we'll have further discussions with Mr. May and Mr. Schreiber. Can we do that and just postpone for 30 days?
I personally would feel better if you guys had that conversation. I mean, this is all news to us, what's going on out there. But again, I tell you, we're going to base our zoning determination on the zoning requirements that are before us. If you and Mr. Mann cannot come to an agreement by next month, which the meeting is August 25th, if, before that meeting, Mr. Joel can't report back to us that, you've reached an agreement, everybody's satisfied, and we'd like to come in and close the public hearing and request the approvals, I could live with that. If I'm being forced to make the decision tonight, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. But to give people 30 days to work it out with the understanding that, we're not committing Mr. Mann to anything. And we can't. We don't have that authority to commit him to anything. This is just a good neighbor policy. That I'm saying, talk it out. If you guys can come to an agreement between now and the next meeting, I'm happy with that solution. Now, if you talk it out and you still don't come to an agreement, that doesn't prevent us from in the future approving the plan as it is.
So, Mr. Bruno, you feel comfortable with my discussion with you just on the record that we will try to work it out? We'll have some meetings and I will get personally involved instead of having the owner. I will get involved in that and try to figure out the best way for everyone. Do you feel comfortable with that, Ford? Or
Definitely.
okay.
No, I think just echoing Mike's, what Mike was saying, Mr. Bruno's, I agree with you to some degree that, you have a forum here and you want to maintain that forum. Obviously, Mike has indicated our purview is the approval of variances. It's not the negotiation between you and Mr. Mann, but I agree with Mike. I don't understand that there's a reason why we shouldn't necessarily, keep the public hearing open and give it 30 days and, it's gonna, the approval process will happen as it is.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, 30 days it is.
Austin, what's your opinion on that?
I'm fine with it. I think that whatever you guys decide to do, it's got to be an engineered design. It's an amendment to the the design of the property and the house. And if Ben wants an amended set of drawings signed and sealed by a licensed professional engineer, he needs to get that, and he needs the time to approve it as well. So whatever you guys come up with, it's got to go through a formal approval process with Ben, and Ben's got to say it's okay, it's compliant, and then we can say, okay, well, it's been vetted out by the building department. It's going to pass muster. It's going to get approved. You guys are on board with it. So then we can go ahead and approve the zoning variance.
I don't know that that's what we're necessarily wanting.
I think you're taking it to the next level.
What if they decide on doing something and it's not code
they
compliant?
would be able to accomplish all of that in the next 30 days, because then they're at the beck and call of the engineers that are working on this project.
Like, what if they decide to do something that's not code compliant?
That's a good point. I agree, Mike. We don't know what we're doing here. None of us are licensed. We need you guys to step in and tell us, hey, the water's going in the right direction and it's not going to hurt anybody.
It's not the board that will make the.
It's not this board that tells you that. Like I said, this is what I see this is as a good neighbor policy. You guys talk it out, see if you can come out with an agreement, within the next 30 days. And then we finalize the public hearing next month. That's what I'm willing to do.
All right. So that sounds like that. I'm sorry.
Listen,
A whole full set of engineered plans, get it approved by the building department. That's beyond what I had envisioned.
yeah, listen, if the board feels comfortable more that way, I will agree to that, to leave it open for 30 days.
Just say that you guys are on the same page and you're all happy. And then at the next meeting, we can, kind of maybe move forward. Just as long as you guys are, you guys all feel like everything is in good shape, good standing.
So I would say the consensus of the board is let's leave the public hearing open and let's take one day at a time and see what happens when we come back in 30 days at the next meeting, and let the applicant report. The members of the public still want to appear and report, they can, and the board can take that information at the time. We don't know what it's going to be. Our crystal ball is broken, and we can deal with it at that time and see where we stand, and then make a decision or not based upon the new information we have.
Okay.
Within the confines of the law.
What is the date of the next meeting?
The next meeting is August 25th. Submittal materials are due by August 4th. We'll give you some variance on the submittal date because you have before us a completed application. And I know to turn this around in 1 week, it's not going to happen.
The question is there any material we need to submit? I don't think we have any material.
An agreement outlining what it is that everybody has agreed to in the field, if anything at all. I'm not demanding that you bring in a fully engineered set of plans that's been reviewed by everybody, up and down the chain.
Right, or a verbal
As two neighbors, you get together and you work out this agreement.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, then that doesn't work.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Good night.
Everything is on, that's it, just things are on the.
No, I think they have other issues, but I don't know what. I think we're done.
All right. So the next item we have on the list tonight is a public hearing for Catherine Vito. Ms. Vito, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Hold on just a minute. I'm looking for your plans. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Vito, well, I guess first thing we need to do is to open the public hearing. Noreen, were the public mailings all in order?
Yes, they were, and I received her green cards back today.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to open the public hearing on the matter of 10 Eagle Street, rear yard setback variance?
Peter, unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for 10 Eagle Street.
This is Austin Side. I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Mrs. Vito, if you'd like to give us a brief presentation on, your application that you have before the ZBA. I'm sharing a
Yes,
copy of the map on screen.
I had presented last month, that I wish to put a sunroom on the back deck, the deck behind my house. And I am aware there was a problem where the backyard isn't large enough. So that was to be decided tonight. If I could get the variance, that is.
Okay. So what you're putting on the rear side of your house, which faces Sparrow Street and overlooks Walton Lake, is a three-season sunroom on top of an existing deck. So we're not
That's
adding
correct.
new lot coverage area. All we're doing is building the walls and the roof over the top of a deck.
That's correct.
With that, I open the discussion up to the board members. Do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Vito?
Are there any drainage issues when we put a new roof? We're going to have this is going to be enclosed now with a roof, correct?
Correct.
And we don't,
It will have gutters.
right? And
Right. And the gutters probably with downspout, and what I believe Peter is getting at is that, with a wooden deck, the water has a chance to, drip between the boards and land on the ground surface below in a non-concentrated manner. Here, we're collecting the water from the roof, putting it into a downspout and discharging it across the land.
Yes.
Okay. And has there been any thought to, managing that stormwater runoff?
I actually had not thought about it, no.
Okay, Austin, do you have any questions, comments?
I mean, I would imagine that if we were to approve the variance, that it would go back for obviously a building permit, and that issue might come up. I mean, certainly that could be alleviated with splash blocks or a dry well.
Yeah.
I don't know how Ben would react to that. I'm fairly certain that there's, I think that there's language in the New York State Residential Code for, stormwater having to be directed into a managed system. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much we can talk about that here.
understood.
I brought it up. I brought the issue up before on other applications. So
Yeah, I know.
So that is
When
not-
I had spoken to Ben, he went over the paperwork that I submitted, and his main concern was that the backyard was too small.
Right. So
So
I had taken a site visit out there. I drove around the property. Here, I guess I'm looking at your stockade fence on the front road up on Eagle Street. Right, and this is your driveway? Is that correct?
yes, yes,
And then this is the rear over on Sparrow Drive.
that's correct.
And your whole back border here is covered in shrubbery. I couldn't even see the house from the backside.
That's true. That's shrubbery, and there's a fence.
There. Okay, yeah, I can see the fence in there inside this photograph. So as far as visibility to adjoining properties, it would be very tough to see.
That's correct. I don't see other people's property, and I can only see the lake when, fall and winter when the leaves come down.
Okay, I just wanted to share with the board members some of the photos I took while I was out there driving past the property. Has Kevin joined us yet tonight, or is he still stuck in Poughkeepsie?
I have not heard from him, so I'm assuming he's still stuck.
Okay, thank you. I was just checking in. Okay, if nobody else has any questions about the application, I'd like to open it up to the public. I don't know if there's anybody out there in the public who wants to ask questions about this proposal.
Next.
I don't think there's anybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
I'm probably after Kathy Vito. I'm Kim Lacerdo, but I did want to say something on her behalf, because we are also looking for the same room, the 3-season room, and they are going to put gutters, and the way the house is drained already is the way it will be, the new room will be drained. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think Boston kind of came up, he said that obviously in the process of building an inspection, that the building inspector will ensure that the drainage is set up properly. So
Right. So in other words, I'm just saying I don't see it, on her behalf really being a problem.
Right.
It's, going to be tied into the house.
Right. Understood.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anybody else out there from the public that wants to speak on this matter?
I'm looking, I see the people left in the meeting. It's hard to see in this format, but I got somebody with a telephone number ending 7383.
That's
me.
Catherine Vito.
Oh, that's you. Okay. There's
Mike, can you make the screen bigger? It seems like
I'm trying to.
yeah, just if you just stop sharing screen, there you go.
Got it.
That's easier to see now. Yeah, so we have 11 people here. So is anybody else that's here? That was Kim Lacerdo. I see we have Saul, we've got Noreen, there's Jerome, there's a Heidi and J6 Construction. Any of those two people want to be heard on this? No? Okay.
Okay, so, it seems like we went through everything fairly quickly here. I think it's a, straightforward application. There's, no further public comment. The neighbors are not here. Everybody was notified correctly through the public mailing. So I guess with that, if Ms. Vito, if you have any closing comments you want to make before we close the public hearing?
No, I don't really think there's anything else I could add.
Okay. All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 10 Eagle Street.
I'll second the motion to close the hearing for 10 Eagle Street, public hearing for 10 Eagle Street.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 There you go, Austin. Got a delayed response tonight, Austin, on those votes. Okay, so with that taken care of, we could go over the 5 factors, regarding the area variances being requested. The the variance being requested here is just strictly that rear lot setback?
It's,
As far as I know, yes.
Yes.
well, technically it's more, that's the only one that is directly implicated, but because there are pre-existing non-conforming conditions on the site, there's actually a number of variances that are required
Oh,
for existing conditions. Lot area, lot coverage, lot width, and side yard would all be, well, there's 5 total. There's lot area, lot coverage, rear yard, lot width, and side yard. Only one of them is directly implicated, but all the rest are indirectly implicated.
We'll have to get back to Mr. Bruno and tell him we have another 5 variants.
Please don't.
Please don't.
So it's all in Ben's letter.
okay. So it's a pre-existing non-conforming conditions. We have, as we said, minimum lot area, 15,000 is required, 5,121 is provided. There's nothing they can do to change that. Minimum lot width, 85 feet is required, 50 is provided. Nothing can be changed there. Minimum side yard, 15 feet, 7.8 feet is existing, 7.8 feet is proposed. No change there, but it does require the variance. Minimum total side yard in feet is 40. That's adding up both side yards, and 40 is required. 19.6 is what's existing. 19.6 is what's proposed. Minimum rear yard setback is required. It's 40 feet. What currently exists is 26.1 feet. What's being proposed is 14.1 foot. That's due to the 12-foot wide sunroom that's being added. There's already a deck in that location. Once we add, the walls and roof to it, then it becomes part of the enclosed structure, and that's where the setback gets measured from, is a roofed portion of the home. So that's what's changing here. That's getting shortened from 26 feet down to 14 feet. Maximum lot coverage, 25% is allowed. 52.4% is what's existing. 52.4% is what's proposed. No change there. And that's it for the variances listed on the parcel.
Okay.
Mike, would you like me to put up the my usual sheet for the area variance standards? Want me to?
Yeah, if you would, Dave, I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Are you able to see that now?
Yeah.
Yep, it was just there. It had just loaded up.
Yeah, my computer's acting very, very slowly right now for some reason. I don't know why. But it's up now for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I have the sheet in front of me. I mean, I could go down through the list. Okay, what must be proven in order to grant an area variance? Item 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting of the area variance. And by area variance, what we're talking about are those 5 variances that were listed, 4 of which already exist and only 1 of which is changing.
I would say no.
I would say no, and there's no neighbors at the meeting tonight expressing any concerns.
Right. Okay, item 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method which will be feasible for the applicant to pursue but would not require a variance.
No.
I would say no, that any changes to that house will require a variance because of all the pre-existing conditions.
True.
3, whether the requested area variance is substantial.
Yeah. It's got 5 variances. That must be the new limit.
Yeah, I mean, it's substantial in nature. I guess the fact that it's a deck and it's going to be on top of that deck.
It's
Yeah,
kind of keeping in the character of the neighborhood, though. I mean, you know, they're going from a 26-foot rear yard to a 14-foot rear yard. You know, in either case, you've got a very small rear yard. And as we, you know, saw from being out there on Sparrow Drive, you can't even see into the property.
right.
Okay, item 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
I don't think so.
Right, we were talking about the, you know, the potential for additional stormwater runoff from the roof portion of the house versus, you know, an open wooden deck structure. And, you know, Mrs. Vito indicated that there will be gutters and downspouts. And, you know, we'd like to make sure that there's also splash pads at the bottom of those downspouts to disperse the water across the land. So we're not creating a direct runoff to any of the neighboring properties. And 5, whether an alleged difficulty is self-created.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So that 5th item, you know, is something that we can consider, but it is not a requirement, you know? So if we're in general agreement with items 1 through 4, that, you know, there are no significant impacts being caused due to this variance is being requested, you know, I would open the board to a proposal for a variance to be granted on the setback requirements that we listed earlier. And David, do we need to go through that again, you know, for the term, you know, state all of the
No, you don't need to. The record will reflect what the variances requested are, as set forth in the public hearing notice and in the application.
right, and we did discuss each one of them.
And I will memorialize that in the resolution that I'll prepare.
Okay, great. Well, this is Austin Side. I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance application, including the 5 separate variances from the Town of Monroe Schedule of District Regulations.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Austin Side, aye.
Michael Murphy. All right, unanimously passed. Okay, Mrs. Vito, that concludes your work here with this ZBA. Your next step is to, you know, we'll have the resolution drafted, and then that'll need to be signed, and then you can present that to the building department to continue with your application to make the deck addition, or the
Would I get a letter in the mail?
No, I'll give you a call and I'll talk to you. Probably, I'll have to get it from the attorney. It'll take a couple of days, and I got to get Mike's signature and the town clerk. So it usually takes at least a week or so.
So I would just come and pick it up?
Yep, I'll put it in my little box and you can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all for really all the work you did on my behalf, and all that. I know you take it very seriously, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure. Have fun with your sunroom.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm going to hang up now. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda tonight is a similar application for Modesto and Lusardo for the addition of a 3-season room on the deck on the rear of their house, and I'll get a copy of that map up momentarily.
Oh, let me, I was still sharing my screen.
Okay. I have to find the maps.
Kim, you might want to unmute yourself so you'll be able to talk.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Kathy got it. Oh, you see me, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Watch us get turned down.
Okay.
If they want people.
Oh, you let him out?
Hope we were next.
They're looking for the map.
She's still on.
Okay, and here we go.
Did we,
You didn't open the public hearing.
yeah,
yet.
we got to open the public hearing, Mike.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
I'd like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the Modesto Lucerto application.
I'll second that.
Somebody's got to make the motion before.
I thought you made the motion. You can make motions, you know.
I did not know that.
You can.
I'd like to make a
Okay.
motion to open the public hearing for 120 Linden Lane.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Ms. Lucerto, do you want to give us a brief rundown of your application? I am sharing a copy of your site plan on the screen.
Yes, so we're looking to do a 3-season room on an existing deck, a patio, some cement patio, in the back of the house. And the variance for the front is 36. So that's what we're here for tonight.
Okay. So as you said, what you're here for tonight is a variance on the front yard setback, which is an existing condition.
Yes.
The reason you're driven to the board is because you're adding an addition to a non-conforming structure, but in the rear of the house where you're adding this sunroom, you have a 117-foot rear yard.
Yes.
Where a 55 feet is required? No, that's not right.
No, for the front, I believe it was 40, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
40 foot rear yard.
40 feet in the front.
Yeah, and you're just a bit less.
Yeah.
So your rear yard, you have triple of what you need, and on the front yard, you're shy by a couple of feet, but that's an existing condition that's not being changed.
Right.
That's the only thing variance we're requesting, Dave.
That's it. It's front yard setback, to my knowledge.
Got it.
Yes.
It's basically it's an addition. It's an addition that can't be built because there's a issue with the lot. Right. You can't add on to a non-conforming.
Right. That's it. Right. It's an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure. So it requires a variance for the pre-existing non-conformity in the front yard
Got it.
of, it's like a total of 3.2 feet, right? If my math is right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. All right, so do any of the board members have any questions regarding the application?
No, I think because this one's following the last one, I'm pretty comfortable with what this one's all about.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, yeah, so this lot is compliant with all the rest of the district regulations. The only thing that is non-compliant is the minimum front yard. 40 feet is required, 36.8 is what's existing, and that's what is proposed. So there's no change in the front yard. In the rear yard where the deck is being added onto, she has approximately 3 times the required rear yard setback. So it's really not encroaching in any way onto any of her neighbors' properties. With that, I would open the floor to anybody in the public who may have some questions or comments on this application.
Yeah, hi, this is Heidi Coleman. I'm up on Billwood Drive, and I totally misread what you were going to do. I thought you were putting something in the front of the house. And I said, oh my God, you're going to hit sewer lines. You're going to hit stuff. Oh, you can't do that. But now that it's in the backyard, it makes perfect sense to me. The condition that is the problem has been existing, so I don't have a problem with that. And I don't see, is it going to bother any of your neighbors' view? That's my only question. Is it going to obstruct any neighbor in any way?
No.
I believe the land slopes from the front yard to the rear.
Yes, you could hear me now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're on a hill, so the backyard is, downhill. I don't think it's going to affect anybody. I mean, we just have 2 neighbors that could really see us on the side. The lady behind us really can't see us. Nobody in front could really see the back. So, and I think it's going to be, a pretty addition to the house. The house is cute, so it's going to make it nicer. So I don't think it's going to bother anybody.
That was my only question, because originally I thought you were putting it in the front, and I was like, whoa, you can't do that.
We have the back, we have the patio, so that's what it's going to go on, that back patio.
Yeah, okay. Yep, that sounds good. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Okay, is there anybody else out there? Hearing no takers, I imagine that concludes the public comments. With that, Mrs. Lucerto, do you have any closing comments you'd like to make?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I don't.
You're all set. Okay.
Thank you.
Board members, any final comments before we close the public hearing?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good, Mike.
Great. All right, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Austin?
Oh, I lied.
Aye, aye.
I lie again.
Okay, so that closes the public hearing on the matter, and the variance that we're talking about here is a variance for the front yard setback, which is a pre-existing non-conforming condition. With this variance, Mrs. Lucerto will be able to add a sunroom to her back patio. We heard no outcry from the neighborhood that this was any problem for anybody. So with that said, I think we'll go through the 5 standards that we need to before determining whether the area variance to be granted is acceptable. And item 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting of the area variance.
No.
No.
I concur. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method which is feasible for the applicant to pursue but would not require a variance. No, because no matter what gets done to the property or to any additions that get made to this building will all require variances because of the front yard condition, and they're not making that condition any worse. Item 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial.
No. No.
I concur. We're asking for 3-foot variance off of a 40-foot required front yard. That's been in existence since probably 1960.
30s, I think.
I'm just guessing that's how old the house is.
No, I think 1930s something.
Oh, is it? Okay, it's one of the older ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Item 4, whether the proposed variance will have adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No.
No.
Concur, no. And 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. No, this was really a pre-existing difficulty, you know, what we're granting a variance here tonight. Okay, so with all that being covered, would anybody like to make a motion to grant a front yard variance for Mrs. Lacerdo's property for a required minimum front yard of 40 feet where all that is existing is 36.8 feet?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to grant the variance for the front yard setback for 120 Linden Lane.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Peter, aye.
Austin side aye.
Michael Murphy, aye. And David, you'll provide us with a resolution?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Mike, can I ask one question? And this is just for me. Is the variance for a front yard setback, or is the variance for there being an addition on a non-conforming lot?
The variance is for the front yard setback because that's the violation of the code, but it was, the need for it was arose because of the addition on the back.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, Mrs. Lacerdo, I think we're in the same position as we were with the earlier application. We'll be in the process of drafting up a resolution of approval of the variance. Once that's prepared, we'll review it. Noreen will get it to me to sign it, and she'll let you know when that's ready, and then you'll have to present that to the building inspector to complete your building application.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, good luck with the addition.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Right.
Night.
Okay. Moving right along. That was item 4. Item 5 is a new project, J6 Construction. There anybody here tonight that would like to present this matter on behalf of J6 Construction?
Yeah, Tom Depew.
Tom who?
Depew. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Tom?
All right.
Hang on. I have a copy of the map I'll put up to share. Let's see, share my screen. Where did that button go?
It's not already set, Tom. What's going on there?
How you doing?
Yeah, where is he?
Oh, Jess, I hit the wrong button. Bear with me. Okay, so unfortunately, I have a version of Adobe that I can't rotate these maps.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to look at everything a little sideways. So, Tom, would you like to go over the application and, hit on the variances that you're requesting from this board?
Yeah, basically, we're looking for a 280A for building lots on private road. There's a little history to this property. It had been in front of the planning board. We had originally got it approved for 5 lots. We had already had a 280A variance granted on it. We went back to the planning board. The project had been put on hold. We went back to the planning board, and we ended up reducing it back to a 3 lots, which there was originally 3 lots there. What we did was we did some lot line changes to make the lots of equal size. And we had several public hearings while we were in front of the planning board. And basically, we reduced it back to the 3 lots. Now, when we went to go to construction, the building inspector said that the 280A does not, well, it's intact, but it refers to the 5-lot subdivision and a bunch of improvements that we're not proposing to do now. So
Oh,
basically, yeah, so basically we need the variance, either a new variance or the variance amended to call out this drawing as the drawing granting the 280A on, because before we had 5 lots, we had a bunch of other work going on that we're not proposing to do now, because we're back to the original 3 lots.
so
basically,
the 5-lot subdivision, that goes back a while, doesn't it?
yeah, we were granted like 2008 was when we got the 280A variance, and we were granted final approval. We had gotten health department approval and everything. Got put on hold. Kind of the approval lapsed. We came back to the board, and it was thought, after input from the neighbors and everything, that it would be better suited to go back to 3 lots and just, you know, put the original 3 lots in that were there. However, we did change the lot lines to make the lots more equal in size.
And how are these lots being serviced? Is this wells and?
We're going to have sanitary sewer and then individual wells.
And you had mentioned that there was previously a road improvement plan that went along with this layout, and no.
Yeah, and now we're not proposing any any road improvements on the road, mainly due to the public input that they didn't want the roads widened. They didn't want a lot of impact on the area. So, and then when we reduced back to 3 lots, there was really not a need to really go into a big plan for widening the roads and everything. So we had gone over this with the planning board and also Mark Etzel, the planning board engineer, and we just basically are gonna, you know, put some piping under the proposed driveways and let the drainage come down naturally. Part of this project, there was tennis courts there and other impervious areas there before we started the project way back. And to be honest with you, there's really probably about the equal same amount of impervious. We had looked at that too. So so that's where we're at. So we're actually looking for a 288 variance. I don't know whether it's to amend the one that we have or just grant a whole new one.
So 288 variance is for frontage on a town road?
Private road.
Right.
It's when you don't have direct frontage on a public road. So you're on a private road
Right.
next to a public road.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we get the opinion of the highway superintendent on these.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had come out and looked at everything with Mark at the time. So, but if, you know, you can reach out to him again.
So I looked through the application. I saw the more recent planning board resolution on the lot line change. But then I obviously I also saw copied in there is the old variance from 2009, the 288 variance.
Right.
And when you look into the conditions, the first paragraph, I guess, is the one that you're looking to change, right? It's that first paragraph, the first condition required that the applicant improve Scott Street and Hillsdale Avenue by widening and paving the road in accordance with certain specific plans. There was plans last revised July 28, 2008, 8 pages. And then it said, in addition, the applicant will construct and install the drainage and other improvements in accordance with the same plans, all of which shall be subject to approval of the highway superintendent and town engineer. Essentially, that's the main thing that you're here saying, look, we don't want to do all that. With our configuration has changed a little bit, and we don't want to quite be that elaborate. Do I have it generally right?
Yeah, basically, we're not proposing many improvements on Hillside or Scott, since we reduced back to 3 lots. And so basically we need the variance to reference the new drawing.
So I think it would be helpful because of the history and that it's in writing and it's previously before the board with that condition, that prior to the public hearing that you get to the board, if you can, copies of those prior plans that the
Okay.
that the zoning board made a condition, but that you're looking for basically relief from.
Okay.
And if you could, I think it would be helpful for the board to talk about, you know, or if you have any plans specifically to just compare and contrast what was before, what's after, what specifically are you actually proposing for, you know, for the improvements to the roads, if anything now.
Yeah. We're basically not.
Am I on speaker?
Yes.
Okay, this is John with J6 Construction. This whole plan, that we went before planning and everything was approved. The only thing that the building inspector, it refers to the 280A. It was revised from 2006 to 2008, and he told me he needed to revise from 2008 to 2019 plan. These plans were all reviewed, all engineered, all 10 site visits. I'm exaggerating. But with highway super, the village engineer, Tom, myself, and this was all approved through the planning board. The only thing that has to be changed is that it did not reflect the 280A is granted for the 2009, and it was revised. All it has to do is say revised from 2006 to 2009, now revised from 2009 to the 2019 plan or 18 plan, whatever this is.
Yeah. But I guess the concern is, what is it that's being revised? I guess there was previously there was a roadway improvement plan that is now not going to be constructed. So that's usually you know, a major part of the 288 variances. Right. You know, what kind of roadway improvements are required.
Right, and that shows us on this new plan.
A little bit to see, you know, what the highway superintendent has to say, what the planning board engineer's review of it was. You know, just to get familiar with this, because otherwise.
Okay, but I was just kind of bring everybody up to speed that we did this all before the COVID-19 happened, and then everything was kind of shut down, and I wasn't allowed to get a building permit, and I didn't find out about this until basically a month ago. And the 3 houses are sold. The one lady's 5 months pregnant, and we did all this. This is all approved. It's not that we're not doing any improvements. We're doing less improvements. There's new drainage going in on the one side where every neighbor came out and said, my grandfather planted plants. We can't go 20 feet. It was years of doing this, and we eliminated the 5 lots that were previously approved. We were approved to do 5 lots. To be nice to the neighbors, I just want to get out of it. I don't want anything to do up there anymore except just sell the 3 houses and break even. I can't do this anymore. It's going on years and years and years of next month. And these were approved plans by everybody that you're talking about. The village engineer, the attorney, everybody looked at these. Tom, correct me please if I'm wrong. And
yeah, they were.
It's only a technicality that Ben said the 288, and they told us at the planning board meeting, yes, your 288 was granted, so you don't need one. Then Ben.
I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you there for a second, sir, because I apologize, Dave McCartney. And I apologize for interrupting, but on that point, I told you one of the things I looked at was the resolution of approval for the lot line change from the planning board, which is August 20, 2019.
Yes.
And their specific condition number 6 was that all conditions attached to the grant of the variance issued by the ZBA, copy attached, are made a part of this approval, and this approval is subject to the same as if those conditions were set forth herein. So again, none of us were at the planning board, but right. all I could do is read that. I read that to say the planning board is saying all the same conditions in that ZBA approval from 2009 must be adhered to as a condition to our grant. And I hear what you're saying. I understand everything that you're saying, particularly downsizing the lots from 5 to 3. I'm sure that was not something that you preferred to do. And I understand that you want to get through this, but this was the first time this board's taking a look at it. So we just need to see what are those prior plans? What are you proposing here? If the town engineer's already looked at it and the highway superintendent's already looked at it, this board just got to look at it and hear from them and understand that so that they can appropriately just review this at the next meeting.
Is this something we could do without a next meeting? That's what I'm asking.
Well, no, it can't, because we don't, tonight is not even the public hearing. The board has to conduct a public hearing. That has to happen next month.
Yeah, but we had 2 ADAs that were granted.
Right. But
With a revision from the first time. The first time.
I understand you have a long history with this project, but this is our first time looking at it tonight. And apparently it does have a history, and we just need to understand that before we can.
Okay.
For
Okay, but I was just trying to say that these are the revised plans, and there is no revision date. And the 280A, just the same way it was granted from 2006 with a revision to 2009, it needed to be revised. That these are the plans that everybody studied and went over in detail. And it's just a date. It's just a date on the plans. That's what Ben told me. That's all he needed was the date. We need a revision date on here. I'm very, very confused, and I don't even know what to do. I really don't know what to do.
Well, may I suggest we just get the information into you, set the public hearing for next month, and hopefully we can settle this.
Public hearing for what, though? I don't get it. We did the public hearing with the planning board.
It's required, sir. It's required by law. The board.
Okay.
The board. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. It's a New York State town law requirement that anytime you have a 280A variance, the board is prohibited by law from granting it in the absence of the conduct of a public hearing. So there's.
No, I know. I apologize for being a little. I'm actually a zoning board member in the Village of Greenville Lake. I do know all that, but.
So you must know that we have to go through this process.
No, I'm just going by what Ben just wanted a revision date on it. I didn't even think we had to go to you, to be honest with you. I thought Tom could have revised the plans and sent it back in. That's the way Ben explained it to me. I'm sorry.
Does any of the board members have Ben's letter that I forwarded to all of you?
Yeah, I think I have that. Let me look at it.
I'm staring at it.
Denial letter. Okay, dear Mr. Sorrentino, with reference to the above lot, your proposed single-family detached dwelling as depicted on the survey submitted to my office, 5/28/2020, your lot is located in SR 15 zoning district. At the time, the required building permit cannot be issued for the following reason. Now, he's just referencing one lot here.
Yeah, we did a plot plan.
There's actually three. That's the other question. The lot on Hilltop is one single lot, and there's two lots on Scott Street, or vice versa. That it really shouldn't have been tied into. We didn't do any changes to the one on Hilltop.
Okay.
I wish we could do it separate, but anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Town law requires public road frontage on an improved town road. Your lot does not front on any improved town road. You do not want to comply with the original 280A ZBA variance granted on May 7th, 2009, and planning board approval for lot line change with conditions granted on September 17th, 2019. See attached. You may contest the above through the Zoning Board of Appeals by contacting the ZBA clerk, Noreen McSweeney.
What does that mean? That who didn't want to comply with the original?
We changed the original. The original has 5 lots.
Yeah, so if you look at the application, right? The application includes on, I don't know what page this is. Hold on, let me look. So the application includes on, I don't know what page this is. I can't tell. But in the original application, there is the public hearing, the original document from the public hearing at the Town of Monroe Zoning Board of Appeals, March 12th, 2009. It has the findings of facts and decision. It includes basically the resolution from the meeting. It does not include the, oh, no, wait a minute. No, it does not include the drawings for the 5 lots. It still has the 3-lot development.
Right, yeah, but that's 2019. That's April 5th, 2019.
Yep.
That's the
request for the new variance.
Yeah, it has the new drawings with the old resolution.
Well, because it says if it ever had a resolution to include it with the application. That's what it says.
Right. I guess the only point is we see your plans. We see the letter from Ben saying you don't want to comply with that. And we heard Mr. I'm going to butcher your last name, Dupuy.
Yes.
Yeah. Said that there's certain improvements that you're not going to make or that you don't want to make. I don't know if it's just
The
certain
improvements
driveway,
are
like
the extra
curb cuts.
2 lots. Basically the extra 2 lots, and it's just
Yeah,
more
well,
culvert pipe.
Yeah, but just let me finish speaking for a second. So
Okay.
if it's just the, just let us know. I mean, we have to conduct a public hearing. Just give us the prior plans and then just be clear what exactly are you proposing to change? I know you said something about the width, so the width isn't going to be the same. It's not just the curb cuts into the other lots. It sounded to me like somebody was saying, well, we're also going to make it not as wide, or there's not going to be certain.
No, because they were considered it a subdivision because they were adding more lots, and they tried to make it, to call it a 5-lot subdivision, and there's 3 existing lots. So the previous owner, not even myself, had this all approved. I think he ran out of money. I bought it from him. I bought it from him as 5 lots, and we just had to finalize an approval, and then all the neighbors came out of the woodwork and said they want us to make the road 30 feet wide, 28 feet wide. It's now 14 feet. My great grandfather planted the trees. My sister put the wall in. My cousin. Everybody had a different story on why they didn't want the road wider. And I said, I don't want to widen the road. I was willing to do it. We were doing it, and it just kept going, meeting after meeting after meeting. And then somebody, even one of the planning board members says, or Tom said, if you just stay to the 3 lots, they're existing. You don't have to do anything. But besides, of course I'm selling new houses, so I'm gonna clean up the drainage. Yeah. So go back to the 3 lots, and you don't have to go through any of this hassle.
And that's when you got the lot line changed at the planning board. That was a lot line change that went from 5 down to 3.
Well,
in 2019.
The original side, there was 2 lots on Scott Street. One was a tiny one. One was a giant one. So the original subdivision was three small lots on Scott Street, and then if you look on Hilltop, it's a very big long lot, and they were going to split that in 2, and those were your 5 lots, 2 on one street, 3 on the other. But we just left them original. We just left everything original. Hillside is paved already. That's why the people were like, oh, you're going to ruin all the money we put in. In this whole years of meetings, they did all kinds of new drainage that the neighbors chipped in for on Scott Street, and they said that's a waste of money. I wish you would have told us. I'm good with everybody right now. It's just that the plans at the planning board, the planning board members thought we had 280A variance already, but it reflects 2.
Yeah, it reflects the original 5-lot subdivision and all the improvements.
And then Ben said, if I give you this building permit, you would have to do the 5-lot subdivision because that's what the 280A approved, and you need a revision because these are the new plans that Tom and everybody worked on for 2 years.
Again, I hate to interrupt you again. I completely understand 100% what you're saying, and I'm just being very, very simple. I'm just saying, give the board in advance of the public hearing the old plans, and then be clear what the new plans are, and just be prepared to explain to the board exactly what's different, because the board has to see that, given that condition in the planning board resolution, granting the lot line change, the board has to deal with what the difference is. That's all. It's that simple.
My question is, was the 5-lot subdivision ever filed?
No, it was never filed. We were all the way down to where we had to bond it, and then it got put on hold, and we never filed it. We had Mylars and everything made, and we never filed it. So then John had bought it, and then we went back to the board to get it reapproved, and then we were there for 2 years, and that's when I suggested to him that we go back to 3 lots because nobody wanted the road wide, and they didn't want this, they didn't want, it was, so we went back to the original 3 lots, and we basically did a lot line change to make the lots kind of more equal in size.
Just the 2 on Scott Street?
No, we took the one on Hillside had a little finger that ran down to Scott Street.
Yeah, it used to run down into this.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right. It was an L.
I think if you look on our subdivision map, you can see the previous and previous alignment on our, yeah, if you go down here, you can see. So see, that's there. That's the way it was.
Right.
And then if you pull down more, you can see that's the way
it is.
We made it. We made them all equal in size. Pretty much tried to make them equal in size.
Yes.
So.
Now, the one other question I have is that the building department's letter only references one lot.
Well, that's because we had submitted a plot plan thinking that we were all ready to go.
You're all ready to go. All
Yeah,
right.
so we had a plot plan put together for the lot on
A.
the hill side. Yes. So he's commenting on the plot plan.
So is this, so this application is for a 280A for all 3 lots?
Yes. All 3 lots, yes.
Okay.
I think we have that in the application. It's for all 3 lots.
Yeah.
Noreen, we should make clear on the public hearing notice. Let's make sure to remember to put that in the public hearing notice that all 3 lots are affected.
You know, before we go down that road, Dave, can we entertain all 3 lots if there's only a denial letter on one?
Yeah, I think it would be, as a matter of efficiency, I think you absolutely should. What you should try to do in the meantime, Tom, or I didn't get your name. Is it John?
Yes.
We should get a see if we can get a denial letter from Ben. Either way, I have no problem with them applying for the 280A for all 3. Even if Ben doesn't give a letter. I think it only makes sense from an efficiency standpoint. The man's developing all 3 lots.
Yeah.
There's no sense giving relief to one and not the other 2.
I rather not ask for another denial letter, because to do that, I actually have to pull 2 more building permits.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know, I mean, we're acknowledging that we need 3 for this whole subdivision. The whole lot line change.
I just wanted to make sure that legally we had the authority to act on all 3 if only one of them is before us.
I think at the end of the day, ask for a variance. I think I'm comfortable with it, Mike, if he puts it in his application. Actually, let me see what the application itself says.
I'm seeing different references to different lots. Like, I guess the cover letter refers to lots 2.2, 3.2, 4.2. That jives with the tax map.
Yeah.
And then I see that, yeah, the area application is good. I think that there's some.
What happens is the reference on the previous variance is on the old tax lot numbers.
Yeah, it's the old numbers. Yeah, because the deed calls them out.
The application includes all 3 lots on its face. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So I guess we just have to open it to the next. What'd you say?
Well, we
public
should
hearing.
can we set a public hearing for next month?
Will have no adverse effect. The localized lot. Stormwater management will be implemented. Both Scott Avenue, just access to other homes.
I might also suggest in the meantime that we send the application, Mr. Chairman and/or Noreen, you know, and ask that the highway superintendent look at it and comment on it, and anyone else at the board would like to comment on it in advance of the public hearing, so the board has those comments ready before and at the next public hearing, if at all possible. I think you can
we
do
should
that
also
for their
send it
comment.
to Orange County Planning because it's adjacent to a town line.
Yeah, we're right on town line, so we got to go to county planning. Even though we went to county planning for the planning board, we'll still have to go.
Why is that?
You have to go every action. Yeah.
Even we're not doing anything on the other town line, over the town line.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. We're within 500 feet, so we have to go.
Okay.
It's just a letter over to them. They've already seen the thing. They've already said local determination.
They're going to do a local determination. It's just
Okay. That's right. We did that once before.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so that to make sure the application's complete and that we don't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The existing conditions out there right now on both streets on what's it, Scott and what is it, Scott and Hillsdale? What are they called?
Hillside.
What do both roads look like presently? Are they paved? Are they what are they?
Hillside is paved. Scott Street is I compacted item 4 with drainage on both sides.
And your plan is to do what on Scott Street with it? Are you going to pave it or?
At this point, I don't even know. Whatever the plans say. Tom, do you remember what these plans show?
We didn't call to pave it because that
was one of the things the people didn't want.
But then the adjoining owners didn't seem to want it.
They didn't want it. They like to hear people driving down the road. They don't want people sneaking up on them. That was one of the comments.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the issues that we're going to want to hear from the highway superintendent and other involved people, the town engineer, just so the board gets input and understanding from, what's safe and accessible and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, because
More hard copies?
What's that?
Tom Depew or?
Yeah.
Can you get me some more hard copies since this is all PDF?
Yep. So what you need, the subdivision drawing?
Yeah, I just need something to get over to John, and I'll have to get, John might take PDF, but I do have to send a hard copy to Mark, just to review everything that we're doing.
Yeah. And then you'll need one for county planning too.
They're taking PDF only right now.
Oh, all right, good. So yeah, I'll get you some hard copies. And then I'll get hard copies of or I can scan the original drawings that the original variance was granted on and give you hard copies of them. That's more for the board members. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that's for the 2009.
Yep.
I got to chime in one more time because it was the previous owner. The 2009 really shouldn't have anything to do with me. I bought three lots in Monroe, and I'm going for 288 variance.
Right, but there is a previous variance that kind of runs with the land. The way if it's to your benefit and you've got a variance, it runs with the land forever until it's changed. So this thing I'm just reading through it, and it's calling for all the all those roadside improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're trying to get off of this variance.
Right.
The requirements to make all of those roadway improvements.
Right.
And, there's a whole long list of reasons why they were required in 2009.
Okay.
And, now we're saying that those factors no longer apply.
Okay.
Yeah, the reduction of lots and stuff, that's what it's about. So, all right.
And Mike, you thinking that, it was a five lot development, so they wanted the roads widened and improved because basically, you got more than 3 lots.
Yeah, because they were considering it as a total new subdivision. So they wanted the same way you would do a subdivision for 15, 20 houses. That's what they want, basically what they wanted us to do to the roads. Yeah. But these are pre-existing lots.
So in other words, you started out with 3 lots, you were subdividing them into 5. You never got that finalized or approved. And instead you're back to 3 and you did a lot line change to even out the size of the same 3 lots.
Yeah.
Right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, we did have approval. We just never filed the map.
That's what
The previous owner, Tony, which I was actually the builder for him at the time. He ended up getting brain cancer and he just wanted to unload the property. He didn't want to go for the bonding and waiting and building and everything, whatever. He got some financial difficulties and then he's okay now. Well, I won't say okay, but he went through 10 operations and I bought it from him just to take it off his plate. And like I said, at one of the meetings, it was just easier to go back to the 3 lots and I wouldn't have to do all these headaches. And that's what we decided to do.
So the road improvements that were asked for, they're not required anymore?
No.
No, not after we went through with the planning board. And we had several public hearings too.
Yeah, so we want to get some of that documentation from the
Okay.
planning board.
All right, Tom, you could get them everything they need, right?
Get away
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
you know, this 2009 decision that laid out a whole list of improvements to say, okay, yeah, none of that matters anymore. It's all null and void. You're only doing 3 lots. We're going to let you use the existing roads. And I would like to
Right.
hear, you know, the buy-in from the town highway superintendent on this also.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
Okay.
reading through the 280A and looking at some of the things that came up. There seems to be some type of an engineer's letter that was submitted.
That's got to be from Tom, no?
I guess I'm just curious as to, I wonder if these things would have been issues with the 3 lot versus a 5 lot. I don't know. I mean, were they bringing these things up?
But why wouldn't they come up with the planning board when we just went to them?
Yeah.
We went through all these items with them and they didn't seem to be an issue with them.
Yeah, well, then I guess that's it, you know.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's just get some of that documentation. I think we'll be
Okay.
in good hands.
Okay.
Just so we can make a decision, you know, with clarity.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Tom, would the planning board's decision help? Do they need a copy of that?
Yeah, we
have
get
that.
that.
Oh,
They
okay.
have
Never mind.
that.
We have
Never mind.
that, and that's actually one of the issues because they say that you
Wait.
have to comply with the old conditions in the old variance, and that's what's partially giving rise to this whole issue that we're having.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intent of that
That's
note,
no,
but that's how
that's
it's being interpreted. They wanted us to, you know,
you submitted new
to
plans
say
that
that
we
it was,
went over.
yeah. So, but okay, we'll
Well,
get the
I think
information.
we got to get that clarified then, you know.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
they're saying one thing and you know, you're purporting up to us a different set of circumstances that all of those road improvements are gone by the wayside. But if they're referring back to the 2009 approval that had them all
Right.
built in, you know, we're looking at 2 different viewpoints.
Yeah. Well, we'll get that clarified.
Okay, good. This is why it's good to have, I mean, I know it's a delay for you, but this is why it's good to have a first meeting and then put it on for the public hearing on a second meeting, because we've
Okay.
clarified issues, we've let you know what the board needs to see, and hopefully we hit the ground running at the next meeting with all the information that the board needs.
Okay.
With any luck.
Thanks, everybody.
So are we setting a public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
Subject to receiving all the, you know, the letters from the planning board engineer, hearing back from the highway department, and receiving copies of the old plan that's attached to that 2009 approval.
Once again, okay. All right. Well,
You have a submittal on the 4th.
Okay.
That's fine. Is that okay, Tom?
Yeah, I think we can get this stuff together. I don't know whether you're going to have a letter from the highway super by then, but
I'll get it myself.
Reach out to him, you know, and we get like an exchange of emails that he's been notified, the questions
Okay.
been raised, he's looked at this previously, he's aware of the conditions.
and then I can reach out to Mark Etzel also.
You'll have to deal with Sean Arnott. Mark is,
Retiring.
yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, but he
Sean's
won't.
been working on all our projects.
Good for him.
So who am I getting a hold of?
Sean Arnott,
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
he was at a few of the meetings as well.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
So are we setting it or no, not setting it?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, listen to John. It's not your call, Mr.
Oh,
Sorrentino.
I'm sorry. It should be. It's only my 27th meeting, but that's okay.
Well, we're gonna make it 30.
I should be on the payroll.
No.
So, how do we go about doing this if we want to set the meeting subject to receiving all of the documents?
Just set it. You can set it, and if the documents aren't received, then you just don't open it,
Okay.
Okay.
right? Or you can open it.
And not close
If you're
it.
going to set it, open the public hearing anyway that day, and then you can keep it open to the following meeting if you have to. That way, it doesn't have to be re-noticed.
Noticed, yeah.
Yeah. So I would set the public hearing one way or the other, and then, it can stay open for as long as you need until you have all the data that you need. Hopefully, the applicant will be incentivized to get you everything that they want, everything that you want at that meeting. That would be my advice. That way,
Yep.
we're moving expeditiously, but with no pressure on the board to act until it has what it needs.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
And Tom, if you can begin that email chain to John Sherney at the Highway Department,
Okay,
brief him on what the conditions are. I don't know if he's had any involvement up to this point.
Yes, he did. He was involved a lot during the planning board.
Okay, then it should be an easy thing for him to do.
Good.
yep,
In an email.
Include me on the email chain, please.
all right.
Thank you. So is it a
Okay.
motion to set the public hearing, or we just set the public hearing? Dave?
I don't know. What have we been doing? I don't think it really matters procedurally. I mean, you can make a motion to set it. I don't think it's necessary. As long as it's announced that it's that day.
Okay.
But,
Okay. And
I mean,
Maureen-
dotting i's and crossing t's is probably a good idea.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for J6 construction project.
On August 25th, 2020 at 7:30 or shortly thereafter.
August 25th or August 4th? 25th.
Now, August
Cut off
4th
is
is when
August
everything
4th.
ends.
Everything has.
Oh, the submittal. Okay.
Everything
Okay.
has to be in.
Second the motion.
I need a second, please.
Austin, second.
I second Austin.
Thank you. I didn't hear you.
All those
All
in
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
That's
All right.
it, John.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay. Have a good
Yeah.
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, that brings us to the last item on the agenda, the Kingsville Synagogue. And this is, I believe, is a continuation of the public hearing?
It is.
Yes. Oh, excuse me.
Don't fall asleep on us now, Maureen. We're
I know, I
almost
didn't
there.
realize I was unmuted.
We're on the home stretch.
This is the last one. We'll make it quick. I realize it's late. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I guess I should summarize based on what we heard from the planning board's recommendation on what to do with the parking sketches that the zoning board had come up with in the previous meeting. Was that the planning board wasn't too they weren't too pleased about the stacked parking, so they tried to find a way to avoid the stacked parking and also have parking behind the front yard. So they kind of came up with a compromise. So I don't know if Ms. Murphy, could you pull it up on your screen? Would that be do you have that plan?
I'm trying to, what I have here is the old plans marked up, but I know I saw a copy of it. Let me see, maybe it's still.
Paul sent something the other day.
Yeah, the new plan, they kept the three original spots. They got like a 3-foot and change variance for some additional front yard, and then they put another 5 single row.
Austin, do you have that map available?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Hold on.
I couldn't see the map. It was so, I mean, obviously in this kind of environment where we're doing everything electronically, it was just too small to see.
I'm gonna share my screen right now.
All right.
I think. Oh wait, I can't. David, you gotta give me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Austin, hold on. Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
That's the one. If you could, yeah, you could zoom into either the blow up or just that area. So yeah, the blow up explains a little better. So basically the planning board really wanted us to avoid stack parking and reduce the parking, especially because the specific use for this religious use kind of precluded the use of parking because they're supposed to walk and not drive. And it's for local, very local residents, the people that live nearby. So they're kind of really encouraged and forced to walk. So the planning board wanted us to keep it to 8 spaces and leave it away so that it was one row of parking, so you don't have that stacked area. So they, the planning board was pretty agreeable in bouncing this back to see how you guys felt about adding about a 50, I think it's a 50, yeah, it's a 52 square foot addition to that existing parking area where that small hatch is next to the 3 feet to make it officially 3 spaces. And then to put the other 5 spaces behind the 50-foot setback. And then the planning board seemed agreeable to that. So this way they can, you know, we'd request the variance for that small addition to make those 3 spaces official, and then we'd get the rest approved by the planning board.
So you'd only need, with this plan, you'd only need a variance for the 3 spaces in the front yard.
Correct.
Not the original one
Right.
that you were here before had all
Infrastructure
10 in the front
ready,
yard, right?
Correct.
Well, you only need the variance for the one spot, not all 3, right? Because there were 3 existing spaces. So you just need you really just need an area variance for the little sliver to make one of them, I guess, bigger?
Yes, that's correct. Where it says area variance V1C zoning table, that little hatched area is what we are requesting the zoning board to officialize. So you make that a 3rd space because it's only 24 feet wide. We need it to be 27 for the 3 spaces.
I can't see.
Is it too big?
Yeah, it's too big.
Try to be helpful.
That's perfect. You went out one too far.
That seems a lot more reasonable, though. I mean, I think we've come a long way with this one.
Yes.
But where are the existing spots? Are they?
There were the two next to the one that needs the variance.
Yeah, the portion of the driveway that's not shaded in is the existing driveway.
Right.
Yep.
Right. You see how it comes up to the sidewalk that leads to the, you know, circular landscape feature there. So you have that little L-shaped driveway that's, you know, 2.5, almost 3 cars wide. They're just squaring that up, adding 3 feet to it to make sure that it, you know, meets that 9-foot wide dimension for each parking space. And they have 3 there. And then they're putting 5 across the back.
Yeah, where's that?
On a 50-foot setback line.
Where's
they're putting in a short retaining wall around, you know, 2 corners of it, and they're, you know, they're grading it. Under this plan, they're owning the parking lot more than they did in the last plan. The first plan, it was all out in that front yard.
Right.
I mean, this, you know, there is some pavement area that there's a fairly large triangular area that's paved to lead into that back area. But I guess I don't see how you can configure it any differently and not restrict the cars from getting around there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You kind of hit the nail on the head. Like after much deliberation, we were trying with the planning board, and Sean Arnott was like working with us and trying to see if there was any way to like reduce that spacing or the size. But that seemed to be the best we could come up with and keep like one perpendicular row of parking so that people could kind of get in and not be blocked. And
yeah, where's the proposal for the? I mean, it's not. So our variance would be considered for here. It wouldn't affect the back, those other 5 spots in the back.
Correct.
They're behind the lot line.
Where's is there like a depiction of that on this? I don't see it in it.
Of what, Peter?
Those 5 additional spots.
Yeah, you're looking at them right across that back edge there.
See the 5 wheel stops?
Oh, okay. That's the 5 in that's the 5 in the back or on the side?
Behind the front yard setback line. That dotted line is where the front yard begins.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anything to the right of that needs a variance.
Then where are the existing ones in the front there, not shaded in?
Correct.
Okay.
And it's just that little shaded area that has the 3 foot in it next to the 3 with the circle around it.
Yeah.
That little space is really what you'd be granting a variance for to permit a legalized one more space, because all the rest is essentially pre-existing, right?
Right.
Yep, that's right. It comes out to 50 square feet.
But let's not forget, we're also paving this large triangular area to access those additional 5 spaces in the back. So let's not sell it as 50 square feet of additional parking area. I mean, because there's probably 500 square feet of additional pavement there, if I had to guess.
Does that affect lot coverage?
It does, but it's still underneath the required limit.
Got it.
Yeah, this is a pretty big lot.
Yeah, it's a really big lot. They have a lot of space. It goes far out behind the house, so it's underneath the 15%. So,
and I would imagine the lot coverage numbers of this plan compared to the plan that you were last before this board on, it's got to be roughly similar, right?
It's a lot higher because, as Michael said,
because of that, yeah.
It's a large area that we're increasing the pavement for, but it's still underneath.
Yeah,
15%.
I got it.
It's still underneath the 15%, but yeah, it's larger.
Okay.
Well, I think, like Austin said, we've come a long way with this one.
This was the last one, just so we could see. So this was the one that was last submitted.
Yeah, so the planning board really didn't like the stacked parking because we recommended just moving that behind the front yard setback, but they just wanted to avoid it. So this was their best kind of compromise.
See here, the lot coverage. So it's 15 required, 8.9 provided.
So it goes up a little with the additional.
Well, it comes up right underneath. It goes up to like 14.
Right. But the additional is based on that other paved area that would go back to the 5 lots, or the 5 spots. Yeah, that area.
Yeah, so we would just be requesting to close the public hearing and then vote on that the little sliver and the drive that extends into the parking area.
Right, but the variance would be for that little spot there, Mike or Dave. We're not giving a variance for that additional paved area, right?
Yeah, I guess the variance is what? It's
not
what
parking.
the code says. Is it parking in the front yard or is it paving the front yard?
I thought it was parking. I thought it was a parking area. So that's a little bit debatable because does the driveway count as a parking area? Because I don't think it does, but that's up to the board's interpretation.
Yeah. I think either way we phrase it, we're going to refer to this map.
Right.
You got to get to the parking. So I mean, in my opinion is that we're taking an existing area that was, a parking stall. We're restriping that area, and we need you need a little bit more area to make it a proper stall. So we're giving them we're letting them. I guess it's an area variance for the stall, the lot. It's for stall 3.
Correct.
To park in the front yard.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be to permit. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
To permit that one spot in accordance with the plans.
Yeah, and what did you cite?
Yeah.
Let's see. You cited V1 is down here. So you cited from 5738C, parking in front yard not allowed. So it's a 50 square foot parking expansion. So the variance, that's the variance.
And this is, Mike, this has been a, this proposed plan has been accepted by the planning board or no?
Yeah, I believe that's where this plan was developed, was with the planning board. We sent them back there with a couple of suggestions so that, you know, once we give the approval on this thing, that whatever, you know, whatever we sent them back there with, that the planning board would be okay with it, because we didn't want to give them an approval or give them direction and say, you know, here, you must do this. We wanted the planning board to be the ones that had the planning say so on it, and we were just trying to reduce the impacts in the bulk regulations.
Right.
And I think this one does it a lot better. Not only did it take 5 of those parking spaces and push it into that rear yard, or not rear yard, but the side yard behind the 50-foot setback, it also takes the garbage enclosure and pushes it back further on the lot, so it's not sitting right out at the edge of the pavement.
Right.
That'll be more obscured as well. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, obviously aesthetics are important, but you know, in general, this board has tended to not want parking in a front yard, but obviously this is an existing condition that the planning board originally approved. So, you know, it's.
I don't know that anybody approved it originally. You know, it ended up being that way on the as-built maps.
I think it was
We
approved.
have to look back at the original subdivision map, which is a question that I had asked multiple times and never received a copy of the subdivision map.
I believe we did submit that subdivision map. I'm pretty sure we eventually found it, and yeah, I do remember we eventually found it and showed it as that subdivision map being on there. I don't know if I have it with me. I have to check. But I do know that it was on that original subdivision map. I think it was a John Dragan subdivision map, if I remember.
Nope, that was a John Dragan survey map.
That's
It was a
yes.
subdivision map that created this lot. And
Right.
that's
Yes, I am
why
mixing them up, but I'm pretty sure that we found it, and you know, surprisingly, we're able to find the subdivision map, and it did show that.
Well, I haven't seen that subdivision map. I know I've been asking for it since the beginning of the application. If it was submitted and I missed it in the emails, I apologize, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah, to my recollection, we hadn't seen the subdivision map, or if we did, it didn't have it, but it was on the subsequent survey. You know, the details of it are escaping me, but I thought, I know one showed it, but I don't think it was the subdivision map.
No, that was the John Dragan 2009
right.
final survey map for when the building was constructed.
Yeah, I have it right here. It's in paper form, so use that. But
yeah, if you could put it up to the screen so we can at least see it.
It's a Peter Second Fowl 2-lot subdivision made in about 2003. It was completed. So I know you can't see it very well, but that's the subdivision right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what does the lot look like?
And the lot shows 2 lots kind of separated. And I believe the lot on the top here is our lot. So,
is there any way you could zoom in a little bit on that so
yeah,
we can
sure.
see, you know, what was proposed?
Let me see. Does that help?
That does help.
See if I can give you a little more light.
Yeah, so it just shows a basic driveway leading to the front of the house with a little T-type turnaround.
Correct.
So it doesn't really show that there was a whole parking lot proposed in the front yard. And that was my original question. You know, so the way it was constructed was somewhat out of conformance with what was in the subdivision plans. And, you know, I'm not going to complain about that now. It's been out there since 2009 in that manner.
It's quite a while.
But that's what I was getting at. I knew it was a recent subdivision map, and I doubted that they you know, approved a subdivision map with a parking lot in the front yard.
And what we saw was a C of O that mentioned parking allowed.
I think there was a
no,
C of O that was issued after that as-built survey, right? I think that was the main issue, if I remember right. There was
Yes.
a CO issued
Yes.
post-survey showing the parking there.
Because this was filed by the Orange County Clerk's office on 2003, and I believe the survey was after that date, from what I remember. I think the survey was 2005 or something like that.
No, I think the survey was 2009.
Oh, it was even later. Okay.
And it was in conjunction with, it was in the same time frame as the certificate of occupancy for the house. It was like the final survey map that was submitted before they got the CO. So when they granted the CO and they didn't catch the parking in the front yard issue then, that was a mistake on the part of the town building department. They accepted that. And being that they had, I mean, it is now an existing, pre-existing condition. We just didn't want to expand on that pre-existing condition any more than necessary. So I thank you for going through the trouble of revising the plan to, reduce that impact as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to find, because the planning board was trying to find a way to put all the parking spaces back there, because that's what we originally wanted to do. But after a long series of back and forth and talking through, they thought that was the least, the most constructive idea. Just kind of, it's because it's a really small addition just to officialize that one space, and then anything really new can be put legally back. So that was pretty agreeable to the planning board.
All right. So we're still in the public hearing mode. We've heard from the applicant. Board members, any further questions?
1 second, please. I'm still reviewing the plans.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's I guess a compromise in terms of the size, but
yeah, I mean, I know it's a compromise because no one's happy, and that means I hit the right in the middle there.
So here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the section 5713J requirements. I'm going to share my screen again. If I can figure out how to do that again. I think I can figure it out. Come this far. So this is what we're showing here. This is the recent drawing that has the revised, right? And under the section 5713J requirements, parking requirements on peak attendance, it says, these are the actual requirements, right? 1 per 3 fixed seats, 2 spaces per unit. So it's 6 and 2.
Yeah.
Which is 8.
Okay.
The previous plan they came to us with had 10 spaces. So they also rolled back the number of spaces.
Yeah. So the requirement is still 6 and 2. You just had 2 more just because you felt like providing a little bit more parking.
Correct. Yeah, but the planning board actually asked us, some of the planning board members were really adamant about reducing the impact and the amount of spaces as much as possible. They really expressed a want to reduce it down if it was feasible. So that's what we came up with.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
All right.
Okay. I know it might be pointless, but is there anybody out there in the public has any comments? I think, we're all kind of present and accounted.
Down to 6.
It's a war of attrition now, Mike.
All right. So with that, would anybody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing, Austin side.
I'll second it, Peter.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that gets us past that point. We held the public hearing. We got some feedback from the planning board that they're satisfied with the reconfigured parking spaces so that we don't send them back to the board with a variance that they can't use. You know, so we know that we have the concurrence of the planning board on this layout. I again mentioned that, you know, the original application to us was for 10 parking spaces in the front yard. We've reduced that total number of 10 down to 8 parking spaces, only 3 of which are in the front yard, 2.5 of which already exist out there. So we're really minimizing the additional nonconformance of parking in the front yard through this action. So if we go through the 5 factors here, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance.
And it's going to change the appearance.
I mean, it was an existing lot to begin with. And what they're proposing to put in, we're talking about just the variance, not, you know, only the variance item, which is just that first parking space. So I'd say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got them to take the preponderance of that parking and get it out of the front yard.
Right.
So I think, you know, that was the whole intent. If you're going to need all that parking on your property, put it inside your lot, not leave it out front for your neighbors to look at. Okay, so that's item 1. Item 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method which will be feasible for the applicant to pursue but would not require a variance. And my feeling is we've been down that road and the applicant has significantly reduced the variance that they're asking for here. So they've gone through that exercise of reducing the variance request. And they, you know, what they're proposing now is feasible. It'll suit the needs of the new property use as a synagogue with the parking attached in the side yard rather than out in the front yard for the most part. Whether the requested area variance is substantial.
No.
No. Okay. Because we're adding that half a space now in the front yard rather than adding 8 more spaces in the front yard.
And it's still within the, you know, within the zoning laws in terms of lot coverage and such.
Right. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No.
I mean, you know, we're adding more impervious area to the lot than what was there originally. It still, however, falls in below the total lot coverage requirement. Saul, is there anything you guys are doing with the drainage off of that parking lot surface? Are you collecting it anywhere? Is it being dispersed anyhow?
It is a paver system, so it's naturally a little better than pavement itself. But for that area, it kind of it's already a non-point source, so we didn't have the intention to add any drainage to the parking lot. Now that it's bigger in scope, I understand the concern. So if you want to make that, I guess, a stipulation of the approval of the variance, we could add stormwater controls with the planning board.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be acceptable to us.
Sure. So you'd want that to be cleared with the planning board engineer? Is that the
right? With the planning board engineer, talk to the planning board,
okay.
You know, about the potential impacts to stormwater runoff, because now we're adding impervious area to it. I know that the surrounding lots up there are not developed at this time, but once they do become developed, you know, it's a drainage basin dies the death of 1,000 cuts. You know, everybody takes a small piece of it, and
absolutely,
you know, anything that you could do to improve the drainage off of that lot. I mean, you know, if you collect the roof water in rain barrels, and that offsets the additional runoff from the parking lot, I'm good with that. You know, whatever measures you can take. but just, avoid any concentrated flows discharging to neighboring lots off of the parking lot.
Understood.
Okay, and whether an alleged difficulty is self-created. And in this case, yes, we know the difficulty was self-created. So having gone through the 5 factors, would anybody like to make a motion to approve this area variance for parking in the front yard?
Can I ask one minor question, Mike? Just sorry, before we go to that, and it's probably a quick response. I'm just not sure. Are you required to have any accessible parking?
From my understanding, no, because it's a private use and accessible parking only.
For a public, if it was a public use, right? If it was open to the public, but it's a private synagogue, right?
Correct.
Members only, I guess.
Yeah, and also it's in that it's like a gathering place, so it's not strictly a public church for any member in a township to go to. It's a very selective private practice. So to my understanding, it's not required to have an accessible space.
Okay.
Good question, Austin.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's good question. It comes up in every project.
Okay, as you were.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to approve this application for the variance of an expansion of the parking in the front yard as depicted on the map submitted, dated?
That's revised July 23, 2020, I believe.
Okay. With the provision that the planning board take a look at the potential drainage impacts from the additional parking spaces.
Right, so the motion would be conditioned upon planning board review and approval of the remainder of the project, including review and approval of any and all drainage relating to it.
Yes.
Does that have to be in the motion, or it's just?
If somebody's going to make a motion to that effect, that language will be incorporated within the motion.
Yeah. That way, when it goes back to the planning board, they know they have a task there.
Right. Okay, so does somebody want to make that motion?
I want to make the motion. I can't remember everything you just said. Can I just say
yeah,
a motion to do everything you just said?
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Sal. I know it's been a long road to get here, but
yeah, we got here though.
Yeah. And I thank you for adjusting the plans to try to, better comply with the town code. Of
course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad we found a compromise, and yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you soon.
Thanks all.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Good job getting that done.
Good night.
Night.
So, with that application being finished, that pretty much wraps up our business for tonight, unless anybody questions, comments.
Just to let you know that when you do your site visit on Thursday, George, our camera guy, is going to be there to take your individual pictures for your new town IDs that they're doing again.
Oh.
Since we never got them the last time because they kept not doing them, they have a new program, and George is trying to get the pictures done this week. So he figured it was perfect to come out to the site. He's going to join you just to snap your pictures.
So we have to wear a suit?
No. I wouldn't go in a tank top, but no, you don't need a suit.
I hear you.
It's just headshots.
And let me ask you this: Do you all want me there for that site visit, or no?
Not unless you want to get out in the heat on a Thursday morning, just,
it's not exactly on the top of my list, but I'm certainly, I could certainly make myself available if you said, look, I really like to have you there. I usually don't go on site visits, but I mean, this is sort of an oddball interest in
But
the
yeah,
application.
but our role, Mike, is really observation. We're not really going to be debating anything, right?
We're not
No,
going to
you
talk to them
can't.
about the application. We're going to look at what they're doing, get a sense of it. You know, if they ask us, you know, do you like this position for the photo references? We can say, yeah, you know, it appears good to us, or, you know, but we're not going to be directing them as to what they need to do while they're out there. On that topic, Scott had submitted an email, Dave, and I think you got back to him about what other positions they wanted, we wanted them to consider for their alternatives analysis.
Yes. And he, you know, I responded pretty forcefully to say, you know, not our job. And he responded in turn to say, look, I didn't mean to say it was your job, but I just wanted to not, I know people had strong feelings about where they thought it might be possible. So we wanted to be clear and make sure that we were including those. So so both points were valid. You know, it is, the burden is on him, but if we had specific ideas, you know, it's a good idea to tell him, hey, take a look here.
Yeah, so on that matter, we also received an email from one of the residents, I forget what his name was, but he submitted a map and he had points all over his map. And, you know, I don't know if we want to pass that along to Scott.
I believe that was already sent to him a while ago.
Okay, all right, so then we're covered there.
Yeah.
Plus, they're all up on, I've been trying to put everything up on the town website.
Now, are the public, I would assume the public can come over and watch what's going on as well? I mean.
They can come over and watch, but my understanding is, and Dave can say yes or no, is you're not supposed to communicate with them.
Yeah, this is not a public hearing.
Right.
It's not for public comment.
Dialogue in the field.
Right. In fact,
I will not be there.
The only reason it's publicly noticed is in case you happen to say something to each other with a quorum present that relates to, you know, official business. If you do, then it's legal. If we didn't publicly notice it, then it would violate open meetings law. So you can talk to each other. You know, you're probably better off not saying too much,
right.
Just observing and thinking and, you know, taking it all in. Maybe taking notes about what you see, you know, because ultimately the way this is going to come into play is that at the next public hearing, if you all have observations about what you saw, then, and it's relevant to what we're going to be talking about and what the decisions are going to be, it's incumbent upon you to talk about what you saw. That way it's on the record and everybody has an opportunity to address it if you're going to rely on it as a basis for your decision.
And if you do talk together, I need one of you to record it and send me the recording.
Yeah.
I'd rather you not.
Yeah. Who's going? I'm going to go. Are you going, Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to pop out there. I'm not going to stay all day. I'm going to, you know, go out there for an hour, get the lay of the land, see what they're doing.
Austin's going and so is Kevin.
Oh, okay, so we have all four.
I didn't reach out to Aaron because he really hasn't even been involved in this project this year. And with his schedule so off, I figured why make him go out on something that he hasn't really been.
Right, and he won't be able to be at the next meeting to, you know.
Right, so I didn't even mention it to him. It is on the town website that you'll be out there though. And if you need the gate code, you need to contact me in the office. So I can give you the gate code.
I'll probably need the gate code. I don't have it.
All right, I'll do a text tomorrow with the gate code because I can't say it online. That's not fair.
Okay.
What about, just a quick question, I know, and it's not asking for it, but we haven't had like any meeting notes or, you know.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I'm working on the minutes. They're a lot harder to do with the video. There's so much feedback, people talking on top of people.
Yep.
And we've had some
struggle, but we're getting there.
Understood.
Probably next month you'll have some.
Okay. Thank you, Noreen.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
It's enough fun
So that
for one
is
night.
it.
Imagine that before 11 and we didn't even have Verizon on.
Oh goodness, it took us that long again tonight?
Yeah, it's 10:50.
Oh geez. Okay.
Well, we
Motion to adjourn, somebody.
3 are gone now, so.
I'll make I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, all.
Okay. Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Send the link, Dave.
Good night, Noreen.
Good night.